All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, it's time for All Politics are Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it's the third Friday, y'all know it's time for the Mayor's Forum. So today we're going to, talk with our brother. We're going to be, you know, really trying to catch up with him the last 4 or 5 months. I mean, in terms of what's going on with him and so forth. So we're going to do that. And then, John, you're going to give what's the rundown, what's going to be coming up after the mayor.
Sure. At 7 o'clock, it's International Day and a tribute to heroes who use their position to help people around the world. So this is a chance. Dieury
Nothing.
Dumas, Haitian activist, Dieury Dumas,
Why
talked to
tennis
me about
soda?
doing a tribute, a small tribute to Donald Payne Sr. and Jr.
Oh,
Because of the foreign policy work that they did in Africa and the Caribbean. He's a Haitian journalist, and we will also have the chairman of the People's Organization for Progress on for that segment. And then Larry Hamm, chairman of the People's Organization for Progress, is going to come back. Will remain with us at 7:30 and talk about the end of the consent decree in Newark and why we should not be complacent in the face of a growing fascism. At 8:30, we're going to have DJ Rhino in the state of hip hop, and that will round out the show. So
okay.
it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be a hopefully very educational and informative show that we can and some good conversations.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Peace, man.
What's going on?
You, my,
Peace.
welcome to
Welcome and welcome back, man.
Thank
welcome
you.
welcome to the Mayor's Forum. It seemed like it's been, a month of Sundays, my brother, since we spoke to you, man.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So
Yep.
So I'm not sure where you want to start, man, because it seemed like the whole world is going to hell in a handbasket, man. You know, uh, just one thing after another, man. It seemed like, every day you wake up, man, there's all kind of stuff going on. But it seems like the black preachers are starting to wake up, though.
Mm.
That's what it seems like. You know, um, I heard something yesterday. I don't know if you heard it, man, but I heard that the brother at Abyssinian Church that took over for Reverend Butts is definitely going to be speaking against everything that's going on as it relates to um, you know uh, Turning Point USA trying to front as a faith organization. I heard him say that yesterday. So we got the black preachers that are going to start standing up and making a stand to fight on behalf of black folks, as Dr. King would have been doing today. So that's like
Right.
that's going to be really real strong.
Yeah. I mean, Turning Point USA and the Heritage Foundation has partnered with the Department of Education
Mm.
to put out a program for civics of the 250-year anniversary of the founding of the United States. So they are about to put curriculum together in schools across America to basically miseducate people about the history and founding of this country. That's what's about to happen.
Mm.
Uh, and it is essential for not just the black church, but everybody else to be on guard. And all these people that we got out here who make a living off of attacking black people who are attacking black people, they need to stand down. I mean, this is not the time period for foolishness. I mean, we are under serious attack here, and you're still witnessing these people who are trying to get clout
Hmm.
off attacking other black folks who are actually out here trying to do the work, and that's an issue, right?
Mm.
And while we have these people organizing vehemently to erase history and undermine, what it is that was done over the last 6, 7 decades to get us where we are, and to just really make history up, to erase or anything, or sanitize, I should say, the history of this country. for 250 years. And we should be deathly afraid of what's to come. So I'm glad that the black preachers are stepping up, but we need more than just that. We need everybody else to step up to the plate. And a lot of times we spend a lot of time in nostalgia thinking about what used to happen and what used to take place and trying to place ourselves in the presence of people who are no longer here. We have to find the intelligence and the courage to mount up a new struggle against what's happening today, because these are new things that are happening.
It's kind of wild. I'm a debate coach. I'm actually at a debate tournament now, and I talk to debate coaches all over the country, and a lot of them are actually scared of losing their jobs. Right?
Mhm.
There's a coach in Arkansas who's literally having to sue the state of Arkansas, taking them to court to be able to teach African American AP, studies AP, and also to teach the arguments that we make in debates. Debate coaches from Texas to Oklahoma, they're talking about the chilling effect that this is having on them doing what they should do, and it's become even a more pressing conversation. What advice do you give for some of these teachers and some of these coaches who, don't have the relative safety that I have? Like, I'm in Newark, I teach in Newark. Uh, the stuff that I say, and as long as it's academically supported, then I'll be supported, right? But they
Right.
literally have to go through their curriculum, their stuff they teach, and take stuff out of fear of being reported and losing their job.
Yeah, I would say they have to get with other teachers and other folks and kind of form a little collective to protect each other and defend each other and keep a record of what's going on in case they'd have to go to court. But I think really mostly we have to begin to figure out how to teach these things outside of the curriculum or extracurricular. If these people are going to do that, then we have known what we've done before. We're going to have to use the churches, the community centers, and other places to begin to organize our children and teach them what it is that they need to know to defend themselves intellectually, because this is real problematic. And I don't know if we know the severity of what's happening here. But I would definitely partner with other teachers and other groups to kind of form a collective. Because if you're by yourself, you're more vulnerable. You need to be with other people and you take record and mark down what's going on, and in case you have to defend yourself in court. But ultimately, try to figure out how to do some extracurricular activity outside of school to make sure you're preparing kids so that they're intellectually sound and academically correct and defending themselves and the history of this country.
But that's absolutely right, because I was talking with Sister Ava yesterday, and she was telling me that she was saying one of the defenses that we've got to put in place. She was saying that we need to start our Saturday academies at churches again, because she said we need to begin to do that and not wait, because these people are clear about what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
And as you just said, man, they've already partnered with the education department. And remember, the mayor's already got people in place who are in charge of the educational system and policy in this country. They've already done all of that. So we need to be thinking about what are we going to do, which is what I heard from Sister Ava yesterday. So you're right on point with that, being able to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly what needs to happen. I mean, we don't have any other recourse, at this point. And these people are very, very serious. Look, everything that comes to city from the federal government is run through an AI application that makes sure that it takes out the words equity, inclusion, diversity, equality, oppression, all of those words, period, or else you can't get any money from the federal government at all.
Mhm.
Plus, it's designed to change everything, like to erase all of that thought from anything that you present or develop, period. I mean, that's what it's designed to do.
And so
It's
you're
very,
saying
very
even
dangerous.
and you're saying even at the city level, that's
Yeah,
something
the
that we
city
have to
level.
deal with in terms of
Yeah,
scrubbing
absolutely.
scrubbing documents for words that will flag.
Yes, that's what they do. I mean, once you submit it, the federal government.
Mary just stepped out. You just froze. But until he,
Word from your
yeah,
documentation.
you just froze like the last 30 seconds were frozen. You were saying,
Yeah, like the federal government has an AI app that when you send stuff like community development block grants or any other resources that you used to get, that sanitizes those documents and sends it back to you and says, look, this document is unacceptable because it has words in it like equity, inclusion, diversity, equality, oppression. Like if it has any of those words in it, they'll take it out. And this is a clear design to remove thought and remove like history from what's going on, like the actuality of what's happening, to just remove it from people's minds, from their discussion, from their language, period. They're trying to remove it from language. And if you remove from language, you remove from people's thought. These people are working hard,
Yeah.
to reverse history. Like, and they're super obsessed with whiteness. And that's really what it is, man. They're like overly, superly, like a neurotic obsession with whiteness that they have that is really like overlaying any other thought process whatsoever.
and when we're looking at the obsession with whiteness, there would be some people who are like, that's always been the case. Like in federal government policy, and like it's always been the case where we end up left out. They make
Yeah.
policies for other people. What is the difference between
No,
what,
this is
like,
this is different, brother. This is like an extreme obsession. It's like a neurosis. This is before. This is like the beginning when they was trying to create the idea of how to justify the transatlantic slave trade. This is even beyond that. These people are trying to erase all of this history and this idea. It's like this fear that people are attacking white Christian males, and so this is the revenge of that. Like this idea of whiteness, the whiteness that was created to make people turn from Italian and Irish to white. Like you have to give up your Italian heritage to be white. You have to give up your Irish heritage to be white. You have to give up your Jewish heritage to be white. Like, yeah, and no matter where you are, and even they want black people to do that. The problem with that is that we have identifiers that don't allow us to be white, right? And so they have
right,
to subjugate you. So if there is whiteness, which is subjugated, which is equated with goodness, there has to be something that's equated with badness. That's everybody else that's not white, right? And all of the people who refuse to be white. And that's what's happening here. And you can see that. It's like the changing of history. This is what this whole Charlie Kirk thing is about, this idea that you don't have the brain power. Like the only thing that is intelligent, the only people that are smart, the only people that are fit to lead, the only people that are fit to govern are white male Christians. Period. Period. Anything other than that is inadequate and insufficient, and that's really what the ideology is. It's to be the same ideology that existed in Germany, the same ideology that Bull Connor had, right? That they had in Harlan County, and that they had in Mississippi, like the same kind of ideology that is being put forward ahead. And anybody that says anything about that is being challenged or attacked, their jobs taken away,
Yeah.
targeted. It's a dangerous. Like everybody like is under attack. And if you dare say anything remotely close to pointing this out, then you become an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
And
No,
if that's not authoritarianism, nothing is.
no, I mean you're absolutely right, man, because I heard today talking to, some of the lawyers, they were saying that, you have to be careful in terms of the way they're presenting briefs and things like that. If it has the word black in it too much, right?
Yeah.
That that the judges now, or even prosecutors, are, or instead of fast tracking cases, or how they treat their defendants, or the people that they're representing, are going to be treated much harsher, as though they're, and one of the brothers said that, they're even looking for certain names on documents. If it's Ali, if it's Muhammad, if it's Bashir, if it's, whatever, looking for. And I'm like, what? I'm like, this is insane, man.
No, this is where we are, brother.
And you heard that they're trying to prosecute Trish James in New York, and they're gonna fire the dude in New York who would not prosecute her. So the mayor wants to fire him and get someone to come and prosecute her. I said, what? This is insane, man. I mean, this is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody expected us to be at this point. This is a very, very, very dangerous point. Nobody really expected us to be at this. That's why people are completely and wholly unprepared.
Yes.
And I think that the very quick complicity of business, education, like all the major institutions, they folded like they were waiting to fold all along.
Yeah, I mean, they have no defense, and that's really what it is. They didn't expect these people to come as hard and as fast as they are. With the billionaires in tow, with the Supreme Court in tow. These people have both of houses of government. They have the presidency. They have the Supreme Court that are moving in tow with what's happening here, that are giving them the direction and the ability to violate people's rights, to tell them that they could target people based on the way they look, the language they speak, that they gave them the ability to do this, to deport people to places they weren't born at, to violate people's constitutional rights, to falsely gerrymander individuals and create districts that discriminate against African Americans and minorities and Democrats. I mean, this is like blatant, and I think the response is not as blatant. I think the people that are supposed to be fighting, at least in the mainstream, are still pretending that we're in a place that we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're talking about this, Ed mentioned the pastors before. Do you think that we are even beyond a political crisis and it's a spiritual crisis? Like,
I think
this
it's a
seems
crisis on all levels, honestly. And I think everybody needs to get involved in it. I mean, these people are using Christianity to parade around fascism and hatred and anti-black thought. This is what they're doing. This is the man that they want to build a statue for in on the mall in DC, said Ketanji Brown Jackson doesn't have the mental capacity or ability to be a judge. And these are the same thoughts that created lynching, the same thoughts that created Dred Scott versus Sanford, the same thoughts that created Plessy versus Ferguson, the same thoughts that created Jim Crow. These ideas that they're upholding, and that people are like forcing people to, like, I hear people on the internet saying that this man was a man of God, that he was pushing the teachings of Jesus Christ. I mean, this is insane.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know anywhere in the Bible, anywhere where Jesus talks about discriminating against people, where he says, that black people are inferior, that all this other kind of stuff. We have to be careful with what's happening here. And yes, that's why preachers have to speak to defend what is said religiously. Politicians have to defend the political doctrines, the Constitution and everything else, the laws, and activists have to double down and push back against what's happening socially in this country. It's just real. I mean, you know,
It
uh,
is. But you know, man, one of the things they spoke to yesterday, the brothers, the reverends that were on that call, one of the things they talked about is that, all of them seemed to be afraid that they would lose their 501c3 status, right?
yeah, of
That
course.
came up for them,
Yeah,
you know.
this is beyond your 501c3 status at this point. This is like, this is a terrible place we're in. And anytime that these people they're using this guy's death to call for all out war
Right.
against black people, against the left, against any thought that's opposite of theirs. They're calling for revenge. They got a list of people that should be targeted and attacked. They've been threatening our congresswoman, LaMonica MacGyver. They're after these people. They're after us, right? They're after me. So at the end of the day, this is very, very, very dangerous. And I don't know. I mean, if people are still doing the old stuff, talking about the old things, they have to adapt to what's happening now. We are not in those
Because
places anymore. We're just not in
this is
those places.
because and I think you're speaking directly to the uh it doesn't matter which party, it doesn't matter what they're doing, there's some type of equivalency, they're both racist. You're saying that, like, no, this is a not a theoretical danger. They are literally making up charges against people.
Yeah, this
And
is real.
right, you had charges made up against you that were so outrageous that the judge had to, like, clown the prosecutor for being so outrageous in what they did. When you're looking at our congresswoman who's been charged and being threatened with actual substantial time for literally doing her job, as with the with Letitia James as New York City. You have all of these elected officials and quite a few more who are threatened bodily with prison and incarceration for so blatantly for political reasons. Is there anything in your lifetime that you remember, right, that is similar to what is going on right now?
Absolutely not. And I know we've been through a lot of stuff historically, so this is not new in terms of these people trying to subjugate us. But what is new is, like, in modern times, just the full complicity of attacks that we're seeing on everything, you know, uh, every gain that was made, and everybody is under, is in the target, is in the crosshairs, like everybody, and our real unpreparedness to respond is really disheartening. Like, we don't have a national movement.
Yeah.
There is no civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Right? There is no national movement. And so these things are happening to us. It's like we're just getting pummeled.
Yeah.
Right? And there's no national response. There's
Yeah.
no SCLC. There's no SNCC. There's no Black Panther Party to capture the imagination of people. The people who are running around pretending to be the old Black Panthers are attacking Black people.
Right.
Right.
Right? They don't have organized, united front, a movement of folks that are together, that are pushing back against a growing fascism. My father, before he passed, used to say, unite against fascism, or unite against the right. Like, and that doesn't exist. There is no, like, collective universal movement that we have built. It just doesn't exist. I mean, we've allowed these people to destroy it, and scatter us in different places, and put people in charge of these things who are really operatives, who are being used to help us fight one another, and keep us away from each other. And while these people attack and dismantle every little thing that we've had, they have a national movement. They have a national movement.
Yeah.
A
Right.
national movement that is so. How we know we have the national movement? They have the most extreme right-wing people in the White House, in government, in charge of the FBI, in charge of the Department of Justice, in charge, you know what I mean, of the Federal Reserve, in in charge of the FCC, in charge of the, you know, all of these things. The extreme alt-right folks, not moderate, regular run-of-the-mill racist white folks, but extreme right-wing fascists that are running actual government. And if you watch these people in Congress debate or talk to these folks, you can see they don't give a damn. And they are going all the way to the wall for this. Meanwhile, we're still contemplating how far we should go.
Right.
This is what's happening. And we have no clear defense, none. And the only thing we're relying on is the Democratic Party, who are confused and weak and lost. And at the end of the day, like, what organizations do we have that have not capitulated, that have not, like, they're not the same. Even the old organizations that we have, they're not their same young, youthful, energetic self to respond to what's happening. It's just not there. I mean, that's just, it's not a criticism. That's just a fact.
Right. That, you know, that's absolutely right, man. You know, I told you before, man, that, you know, somebody said to me, and I've said it to you, you know, they've asked me, they said, where's black leadership? Right. Even black leaders are asking that question, right? Who, you know, like you said, we don't have anybody or any organization now that is strong enough to come against these people, because, as I told you, even the call I was on, you know, with lawyers and reverends, and these folk were talking about their 501c3, right? Yeah, man, I would like to hold a rally. I would like to say that on Sunday morning, but hey, man, you know, I mean, I don't want to, you know, lose that. I don't want to get hit with charges, and nobody seems to be strong enough, really, you know, to really stand up on their own. And so, you know, it does seem like we're at a crossroad. Black people are in this country because, I was talking to a sister who wrote an incredible piece on Facebook today. And, you know, one of the things she was saying is, you know, what's going to happen when the great big bill kicks in, right? When folks realize that, you know, like in my family, you know, my father-in-law is in a nursing home and he needs Medicaid. What happens when Medicaid is gone? When that really kicks in for you?
And you know what these people are going to do? They're going to blame the local officials for not being able to provide the things that they can provide, they used to, because they don't have any information, any clarity. They don't know what's going on. And they're listening to the internet, so they just lost. And that's just the reality. I mean, we just in a sad state of affairs. Like, our fate is in the hands of moderates. And the reality is, the progressive organizations are not united enough. They have not captured the attention of the masses. You got the same people with the same stuff and the same rhetoric, having the same rallies and the same events with very small groups of individuals participating. That's real. And they're doing what the best that they can to try to get people on their side. And they have not been able to move the majority. There's nobody that have captured the attention of the people like Fred Hampton did.
Right.
It's just not there.
That's right.
It's just not there. They've captured their imagination, have excited them enough, and trust these people enough to go out and put their lives on the line. It's just not there. It doesn't exist. I mean, and you know, and it says a lot about our ability to mobilize people, to organize, and what we have allowed to, you know, get away from us, and our inability to communicate with the millennials and all these other folks, to organize them in such a way that they're responding to what's happening in a collective effort. Those guys, they got individual things going on, and they're under steep attack. steep. Do you see those rallies that this guy was having at those college campuses?
Oh yeah.
How many
Right.
kids were out there at those events?
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what people should be looking at. Well,
Yeah.
who and how he and the other people in those generations can capture the imagination to turn people into racists
Yeah.
Right.
and
Yeah.
white supremacists, like to turn these young kids into this and to like push back against universities, stop people from going to college, take away money from people who are studying research for sicknesses and
Yeah.
disease, for stopping people from accepting uh, people from international students. These people have built a serious momentum
Yeah.
that is impacting generations to come. And damn it, we gotta come up with something to respond to this. Like
Yes.
seriously, this is not just a talking point.
That's right.
Right.
This is like the real deal out here, man.
Listen,
This is the real deal.
And do
you
you
know,
think it's because
Ava told me yesterday, Sister Ava told me yesterday, she said that she on that call, she said, I'm gonna blow y'all mind. She said, do you know that since this guy was murdered, that the Turning Point USA faith chapters on college campuses went from 900 to 3,200.
Yeah, I believe it. Because they're capturing the imagination of these racist white children who believe, who have been taught to believe that their fate, that their demise is at the hands of these people who, they're creating this division to separate people, while they steal from those kids themselves. And there is no there's no real counter movement happening. It is like steamrolling. And that's real. It's steamrolling. Even when you look at the movement, like this Gaza stuff and the other things that are on campus, they are nowhere near the numbers that these kids have. Nowhere near that. Nowhere near those numbers. Because we have stopped educating people and giving them the information that they need to preparing them. We've stopped that. These folks have been pushing this alt-right ideology for decades now.
Mm-hmm.
Decades. And now you have all of these people who have organized themselves to look. Trump's popularity in the polls have increased in white families, even in the middle of this. Even in the middle of this, right? Which means that despite all of the crazy shit that's going on, they think that he's doing a good job. Doing what? A good job doing what? Driving the economy? Putting costs down? No. Keeping us in check.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That's it.
He's got there's this incredible level of fear that is really encompassing the Black community, and I'm sad to say that it's actually encompassing the people who are supposed to be telling us not to be in fear, right? Which is absolutely stunning to me, because where would any of this stuff be, particularly the people who receive tithes and offerings? Where would that be without the people, right?
Right.
Where would it be? And so if we don't if Sunday morning, as the brother from Abyssinia was saying, he said, if we don't begin to tell people the state of America and the state of Black America on tomorrow's on Sunday morning, he said we need to leave that church. He said, because we need to be preparing the people for what's coming, right?
We definitely do.
Right.
It seems like what there almost seems to be a converging consensus on speaking and how we speak and the power of
That's
that
right.
speech and words. Your campaign brings it up. Like, you've been an incredible orator your entire life. Your father, incredible orator all your life. I've been teaching speech and debate, and I've come more and more to the conclusion that teaching people how to be persuasive is a spiritual act. It is an act that is above just politics, but it is rooted in the way in which we see the world.
That's right.
As in, there's I've been getting more into. There was a book called The African Origins of Rhetoric, where it talks about the ancient Egyptians taught, like the Greeks got this from the ancient Egyptians, of ethos, pathos, logos, the different ways of persuasion. But there's something that they didn't get from the Egyptians that was rooted in Egypt, and that's with the principles of Mayat, that was also part of speech acts, right? And that is the adherence to truth and justice and the higher values that are ultimately universal spiritual values that have to be rooted in our speech.
Right.
Part of and I think that is the power when you are running for governor and when you run for mayor. And I think the power of the Black church in civil rights movement is that when the speech was there, it was also a spiritual act because it was an appeal to justice and things that were more important than ourselves.
Right.
And I think that part of what is going on now is that we have adopted and universally, right? Like in our culture, in our music, we have adopted an I. We have looked at when we do good, we do well for us first. It becomes, in a situation like this, everybody's scared of what they're going to lose first. So appeals to
Yeah.
justice and appeals to those higher values, they almost have to be like re-expressed, which is why I
Yeah.
think that, like right now, when preachers are talking and some of the preaching is going viral, it is because the other side also has a spiritual message. But I think it's like I think that I think it fits what their spirituality is and always has been, right? Like the white evangelical church has always been on the wrong side of history. They supported slavery, they supported segregation, they supported like when it comes to division, like burning the cross as a symbolic thing, rooting racial hatred in Christianity. There's no
Right.
better symbolism of that than the Klan and what
Right.
they did, right? So I think that we have to understand that one of the reasons why we can't, why rational thought doesn't seem to get through, is because we're not having a rational conversation. We're
Right. And
having
that's
a
the problem.
spiritual one.
But the problem is we try to appeal to people's logic. And when you're convincing people or persuading people, you have to appeal to their emotion.
Mm.
And when you're talking, and you appeal to their spirit, like you're trying to move their spirit, move their emotion. That's why I always say politics is about emotion. Convincing people and persuading people is about connecting with them emotionally, connecting with them spiritually, right? Appealing to people's logic is not enough because what's happening is illogical. And trying to explain to them what's going on, it's illogical for poor white workers in America to unite with people that are robbing them.
Mm.
It's illogical. It doesn't make any logical sense that you would allow your children to starve in order to hate Black people, right? It's not logical. And so appealing to their emotions and their spirit, like, is what they're doing, appealing to the need to feel better than somebody else, right? And we, like, when we speak, and even in these debates and things that I was in, people are always talking to people. They try to do the data, which is important. They try to do these other things, appealing to people's logic, but logic don't move people.
Mm.
The logic doesn't, you could throw logic in there, but ultimately, what do people feel about what you're saying?
Mm.
Right. And that's important. How does it make them, how do they respond to this emotionally and spiritually? How does it move them? And if you can't move people, then you can't move people.
Mm.
And that's just the reality of it. And that's where we are. We like stuck in this situation. Like, you got people are saying, oh, we had a movement with leaders, and the leaders, we can't. have leaders in charge or we worship leaders. I'm gonna tell you this though. And so we went to this thing, this idea like, oh, groups and the circle and the logic. The problem is these leaders that we had, like King and Malcolm X and all those people, they moved people.
Yep. Yep.
And that's a part of leadership. You gotta be able to have people in there. Like when I was running, somebody said, "Oh, we always need a person that can speak in the front," like making a joke out of it. But the reality is, hell yeah, you need somebody that can move the masses. If you can't move people, then you shouldn't be in the front of them.
Right.
That's just the reality of it.
And I think that what we keep forgetting, right? The reason why people are not acting is because they're scared for their individual selves. They're scared for their individual jobs. They're scared for their individual lives, right? And when you have any type of movement like this, it becomes a spiritual movement because you know that you are putting yourself in danger.
Right.
That it is not just that, our opposition is acting irrationally and therefore like because they're driven by their inner hatreds, needs that they don't even see or recognize. It is that in order for us to act in the way that we should act as a society, it often takes us to submit humbly as our individuals, our individual interests. And like again, that principle of Ma'at, right? That ancient 5,000-year-old principle that is the root of civilization. That is like we have to really get into when we are speaking, when you are moving people, when we want actions to take place. We have to get people to think about and really understand that what is right may be more important than your individual self.
Right. And that's hard, brother. It's hard. That's for sure. It's hard. And what they have on their side is that most of our folks are really disengaged.
Yep.
We're just not engaged. There are a couple of us that are engaged at that level who are paying attention. And we are so like stuck at the bottom trying to provide food, clothing, and shelter for ourselves. We don't even have the time or the space to engage intellectually with what's happening to us nationally here in this country. They have relegated us to trying to figure out how day to day we feed ourselves and our family, like how we provide clothes and shelter for ourselves here. That is difficult for us to engage, and that's most people at this place. And they're continuing to like take more and more from families to give to the wealthy, to make it increasingly difficult for people to think. Because the idea is, if they relegate you to the kind of fundamental stage of humanity, it's difficult for you to elevate to a place where you can actually think about the things that are going on day to day. So if I listen to the arguments and see the arguments that people are having on the internet, they're so basic and rudimentary and nonsensical. They have nothing to do with what's happening to us nationally and internationally. Zero. And I'm gonna tell people this: the good thing about what's happening, what we see, is that Africa is going to become have a more prominent role in our ability to get the hell out of this situation. I'm telling people that Africa is one of the fastest growing economies. Those folks are beginning to realize that neocolonialism needs to be thrown out of their country. More and more African leaders are putting folks out and trying to take control of their resources. I mean, it's the same thing that happened in the 60s when African governments began to fight for independence and throw the colonists out. And began to fight for independence before they assassinated and overthrew most of them. They began to fight for that. That happened at the same time as real struggle took place in this country here, kind of parallel and informed one another. Those same kind of things are happening in the continent today. That's the only thing that really gives me hope that I see that stuff happening. These folks are taking a stronger stance than even we are over here.
Can you give us some examples of, like, just like what leaders, what countries, what
Like
nations are we
like
talking about?
Ibrahim Traore over there in Burkina Faso, what they're doing in Mali, Senegal, you got a bunch of countries in Africa that are saying, the French gotta go, this people gotta go, you can't be here, you can't control our gold, you can't control our resources, these are ours, and really beginning to take hold of that, and it is spreading across the continent, that people are beginning to say that these resources belong to us and that we can't feed our own families because you guys are robbing us. And that kind of push for self-determination can be contagious, and I
So,
think that the underestimation of African countries is something that we have in our favor, right? That we need to, that I think that Black people in this country need to pay attention to, and
so you're
around the
saying
diaspora.
so you're saying that uh, adopting or readopting a more Pan-Africanist understanding
Yeah,
of what is going on, understanding that African Americans are brothers and sisters in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Burkina Faso, right? There's a when we're dealing with white nationalism in the United States, it's not just a local phenomenon.
right,
These are
absolutely.
worldwide phenomena that hit us all in different ways. So when we're having these conversations are international in nature. And if we're
Yes,
saying that part of what we need to do here is just embrace that. Like right now, a lot of it's cultural, right? Like African Americans and Africa, we go into Ghana, we go into Nigeria, like we're visiting, they're having us there. There's
yeah,
musical
it's all
exchanges, right? There's
social.
cultural
Yeah,
exchanges.
it's all social and cultural. We have to start making it political and economic,
Yeah.
and it is almost like this stuff is happening again. Like we're in a very, very, very retrograde period in this country, very backward and dangerous period. And the Pan Africanism will rise, and people's like this idea that you are like it is illegal to be Black in the United States.
Right.
Like
Yep.
it is illegal to say you're Black, to love being Black, to talk about anything Black, to add Black to your history, right? Is going to force us to begin to look at other places and other concepts of how to protect ourselves, our history, our family. That's what's going to happen, right? Because the only thing that's legal in America at this point is whiteness.
Yep.
Mm.
But you absolutely right, man. Because that you know when we went down to Towson University to take my niece to school a couple of weeks ago, we saw young white boys on the back of pickups driving around calling young other Black college students niggas, man.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like, like
listen,
nothing, man.
And that's in
yeah,
Baltimore.
yeah, yeah. No,
That
yeah, you got people hanging from trees. I mean, this stuff this is really bizarre, man. And look, this a white person shoots another white person on a predominantly white campus, and they start attacking Black people.
In a
yeah,
white state, in the whitest of
Right,
states.
right, and they
and
start attacking HBCUs. I mean, it's just an excuse to come after us. It's
yeah,
an excuse. We have absolutely, positively nothing to do with the killing of Charlie Kirk. Nothing.
Right.
Zero.
Most of us didn't even know who he was.
Right. Zero, zero. If you ask the regular run-of-the-mill Black person on the street, don't even know who the hell this guy is.
Right.
Zero, zero. And we become under, because it's an excuse by these people to foment this kind of anti-Black sentiment or anything that's not white. And that's important because James Baldwin said, the long as you think you white, we're going to be forced to think I'm Black. This concept of whiteness is really the problem.
Mm.
And when people came to this country, they had to give up every culture they had to adopt or agree to be white. It's a contract that they had to be white. And white was considered privileged, right? And there are things that came with being white. So when Italians came here, they were attacked. And Irish came here, they were attacked. Jews came here, they were attacked. They were attacked until they became white. And when they became white, everything was good. The problem with us is that we have no ability to become white.
Right. Right.
Now,
We can't do it.
And Principal Kafele wanted to ask you a question, man. You see that question?
I can't read it.
Brother Mayor, you clearly moved people statewide during your campaign. The question is, how do we parlay the enthusiasm that you generated during that period?
We just can't stop. We got to keep moving. That's why I'm trying to do these Black agenda things. That's why we got to mobilize each other. We got to keep going forward. Because I'm gonna tell you this: when I was going around the state, I mean, Black people were energized by that. They were souped up. The southern parts of the state, the most northern parts of the state, who never encounter us speaking the way that we were speaking during this campaign. Like somebody that's challenging these notions, that'll get up in a statewide stage and say that we need reparations, that our mothers are dying in hospitals, that the wealth gap is criminal, that you have to respond to us, that we're here, we're alive, we're well, that being Black is not the problem, you know, and people want folks to say that. And we have to, that's how you capture the imagination of our folks, right? Stop trying to be neat and cute and color in the lines and say exactly what people want to hear, what they need to hear. And that's the reality, and push back against what's happening, that they feel a serious closing in on their ability to make a living in this country. Because what we wanted to do, most of us, we just wanted to mind our business. In this era, mind our business, take care of our families, leave us the hell alone, allow us to get a little bit of money in the bank, go on vacation when we please, and if we get sick, go to the doctor. That's all we really wanted. We didn't care about who was elected to office, what the politics was, or what people believed. That's generally what we needed. But it's becoming difficult for you even to do that. That because God made you Black, that now you're under the crosshairs of these people that are trying to remove you from your humanity, and you can't even mind your own damn business. I'm just trying to mind my own business, right? And now I can't. So they want somebody to respond to that. Why do I have to suffer? And they want you to talk about it. Why am I suffering? Why do I have to suffer in this place? I ain't marching. I ain't in no organization. I'm not no politician. I'm not doing these kinds of things. I'm trying to raise my kid in a suburban community, minding my own damn business, but I'm still being identified and targeted.
Right. And I think we've got to speak to that, man, because I think that, you know, that's one of the things that's happening now, that this level of violence that has increased, right? And the real problem with that is that these people are so amped up, you really don't know what public venue you're going to be in, that these people are going to walk in and shoot it up, right?
So absolutely. And I got a few that I got to go to. And my folks are very, very, I got to speak at Harvard. I got to speak at Stockton. I got to speak at St. Peter's on Monday.
Right.
Not about like government stuff, but about what's happening now. Right. Because people want to hear you talk about what's happening now. And that is those are the topics that create the most anxiety, the most division, that build up the most emotional response. Right. So, this is dangerous. It's dangerous for you to go speak in public. It's dangerous for you to have this discourse, especially now. Because if they can attack, you know, Jimmy Fallon or, you know, all of these other folks that are on national TV, I mean, who are you?
Right. And, you know, I know we're running out of time, but this leads to the big question in the room. You talked about exciting people. You talked about what Democratic Party needs to do, preachers need to do. There's a governor's race coming up. Talk to me about it. There's a governor's race coming up, and there's not a lot of people excited, right?
And listen, I get it. I honestly do. Look, I endorse Mikey Sherrill, and I think people should vote for him. Because this guy is a dangerous person. Anybody who accepts the endorsement of this fascist is a problem, right? Here's a guy who said that the first civil rights holiday was Columbus Day, right? Here's a guy that thinks that affordable housing should only be built in urban communities and what he calls ghettos. I mean, we have to be careful. We have to be careful, right? My father would argue unity and struggle, right? He would say that these people are not where we want them to be, but we got to fight them. And it's easier for us we got to pick our opponents, right? We can't pick the worst guy. We got to pick the easier guy. So it's easier for us to fight with these people and get what we need. And we have to continue to push and push and push to get what we want. I'm not satisfied with any of this stuff, but ultimately we can't go backwards. We have to go have an opportunity to go forwards. And that's really where we are. And voting is not the end. It's the beginning. And the problem is we vote and go home as opposed to vote and get engaged. We got to be more engaged, hold them more accountable, put their feet to the fire and say, this is what we need and what we want. That's on us. It ain't on them. We can't expect people to give us the things that they don't want to give us anyway. We got to fight for those things. We think that by electing somebody, we're going to have to stop fighting. And that's just not the truth. That's not the truth. In fact, we elect these people and we turn the fight up.
Right. Because we picked our opponents, right?
That's right. You got to pick your opponent. You got a chance to do that, right? You got a chance to pick your opponent, and you should do that and give yourself a better chance to win.
But is it enough though, man, for us to say, we want folks to vote for Mikey Sherrill, but the question is it enough at this stage of the game? Because I'm telling you, the black women I was talking to this morning, they don't feel that, or at least, one of the sisters, Nicole, who wrote a piece, she doesn't feel that she's speaking to them.
Right. I get it. I get it. 100% get what they're saying. I really do. And they're not, even in a race when I was in the race, these candidates did not spend time in the black community. They just didn't.
Right.
They just didn't. They didn't spend money in the black community. They didn't spend time in the black community. They don't know black issues. They've not been put before them. Their consultants don't care about them. These people are learning on the job about who black people are.
And you're talking about the Democrats.
Not everybody. The Democrats, the Republicans ain't give a damn. But everybody else trying to figure out who are these black people. And everybody take us for granted or don't take us at all. And that's really what it is. And I think that's incumbent upon us to build a movement. And because we have not built a movement, we are at the behest of our enemies, right? And those people who claim to be our friends. And until we build a movement, we always going to be in this situation. We have to build a movement. Our expectations of them can't be greater than our expectations for ourselves.
But
which is why you had the black agenda.
Here's the other problem, man. You actually got people after they meet this guy Chitterelli actually saying, "Oh, he's a cool guy."
Yeah, the devil is always charismatic, brother. He ain't gonna get you to do what you ain't got no business doing if he can't convince you. That's for sure. The charisma is there. But if you talk to him long enough, he'll tell you the things that you need to hear because they can't help themselves, right? The problem is they're just talking to him on face value. They ask him some real difficult questions, they'll get to what he really means. At the Salvation for Social Justice, here's a man who said that Columbus holiday was the first civil rights holiday. Here's a guy who murdered Native Americans, right? Who tortured them, by the way, and colonists and people who came from Europe. This is a guy who does not believe, right, in the wealth gap should be closed. Who does not believe in all of these issues that we're talking about. And you're saying, oh, he's a nice guy. He's amenable. He I like the way he talks. I like the way he dresses. I like the way he looks. Hey, brother, the devil always comes in sheep's clothing. The reality is we have to be clear on where we are and what it is that we need to do, period. And we can't rely completely on what the Democrats are doing. We can't. The
Right.
one thing that we should have done at the end of the civil rights movement is build our own party.
Wow. Yes. Well, Mayor,
That's-
we know you got to go, my
Yeah,
brother.
I gotta get out of here.
Before you go, Mayor, I'm sorry, I'm just coming on, but I know you're talking about voting, but just real quick, are you headed to DC next week and are you speaking? And is there anything that we should be looking out
Yeah.
while you're down there, if you're down there?
Yeah, I'll be down there. There's a national meeting of mayors that's happening to discuss the National Guard and moving into cities. There's one happening in DC on Thursday at 3. That's how I had a location. You get down there, you can find the location. I'll be there speaking. There's another in October. There's another one in October in Chicago. So mayors are getting together. There's another one in Chicago in October. You get down there, you can find the location. I'll be there speaking. There's another in October. There's another one in October in Chicago. So mayors are getting together. There's another one in Chicago.
And we'll talk more about that. I'll pull it up. So he'll be speaking at the Congressional Black Caucus. He's still in the background? We'll talk more about that. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think he just jumped off.
Yeah, so he'll be speaking at the Congressional Black Caucus. He's still in the background?
No.
I think someone just has him on.
Okay.
Okay.
There's just some feedback. Wow, but you know, John, I think that speaks to what we are, man, and I think that everybody is walking around.
You're saying it?
I think that speaks to what we are, and I think that we've got to change the language in the community, man, in order to save people lives. Because I'm telling you, it's you know what the mayor was saying, just the level of violence, man. You know, and with all of these organizations calling themselves faith racist organizations, man. And so, you know, and like the brother said yesterday, you know, no one should be having church without some sort of major FOI type security in your church, because what's going to stop these people from walking into your church and doing what they did at Mother Emanuel if you can't even protect the people in the house? Because these people are angry, and angry, like the mayor said, at us for what? What do? We didn't do nothing to these people.
Fair. And just a brief, anyone who's listening, subscribe to All Politics Are Local on our YouTube page. All Politics Are Local on YouTube. If you put in All Politics Are Local with an R, and on YouTube, and just subscribe. So everyone who's listening, everyone here, just take a second and subscribe on the page now.
So, peace, Larry. We want to welcome you to the show, my brother.
Welcome.
Peace.
It's
Good
been
to
hot.
be here. It's a very stimulating discussion with the mayor. I think I heard almost the whole thing.
It's hot and
It's
heavy.
very enlightening.
Yeah, I know I'm going to have to go in a few minutes, but one of the things we talked about that I actually want to get your take on this as well, and this is you know, I'm a speech and debate coach, and part of the thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is that when we teach speech, when we teach how to communicate and persuade and debate and discuss, we are tapping into 5,000-year-old knowledge. And the principle I was reading recently, the African origins of rhetoric, and how, you know, ethos, pathos, logos, all came from ancient Egypt, right? And the Greeks took it, of course, and Socrates, Aristotle, etc., used it. And but the thing they did not take from the Egyptians, and that they, you know, did not adopt, was the principle of Ma'at, which is the principles of truth and justice, and these higher values that are really spiritual values, right? And when we teach persuasion and speech, it is a spiritual, right? Kemet, ancient Kemet, right? It is a spiritual thing as well. Like when we're teaching persuasion, when we're teaching how to do these things, because speech has the power to move, and can move us higher or lower. We that we should look at it not just as an act of logos, a logic, but it is additionally a profoundly spiritual act. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's definitely a dimension of it. This the spirituality that you speak of, that word could be interchanged with the word passion. And I think that the mayor was right when he said early in the discussion that people are moved by emotion. People are also moved by information, but in terms of which moves people most, it is emotion. Oratory is important to inspire people to action. The greatest speeches ever given were all speeches that drove people to act on some important issue or some important event that was ahead of them. And, you know, I really would urge people, one thing we have today that I didn't have when I was in college was YouTube. And you can find the speeches of most of our greatest leaders in the contemporary era on YouTube. And I think one of the ways to develop powerful speaking techniques is to listen to the great speeches of other people. And not only listen, certainly watching is important, but also reading. I mean, one of the greatest orators of the 19th century was Frederick Douglass, who was uneducated. And yet the collected works of Frederick Douglass span 5 volumes. 5. This from a man who didn't have any degree. But I think all of us remember, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Frederick Douglass will be dead 500 years from now, and people will still be quoting from that speech. You know, to read the speeches of Douglass and, you know, so many other, of course, Malcolm X. I mean, I was inspired by both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. You know, I had albums of both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and I used to listen to them for years. You know, from the time I bought my first albums at Nyumba Ya Ujima, which was the House of Cooperative Economics, which was on the corner of Springfield Avenue and what was then called High Street, now Martin Luther King Boulevard. I carried those albums with me all the way to college and listened to them all through college. So I was inspired by Malcolm X and Dr. King. I was inspired by Amiri Baraka, the father of the mayor, who, when I was 17, 18, 19, and 20 years old, he was the greatest speaker I had ever met in person, because unfortunately I did not get to meet Martin Luther King in person, nor Malcolm X. But I never heard anyone speak the way Amiri Baraka could speak when he used to speak like on a weekly basis at Soul Session, which was at the Hikalu Umoja initially in like 1970, and then Hikalu Mwalimu. Hikalu Umoja was also on the corner of Springfield Avenue and High Street, then now Martin Luther King Boulevard. And Hikalu Mwalimu was on was 13, then Belmont Avenue, now Irvin Turner Boulevard. And you know, so you have to have a combination. You do have to know what you're talking about. You know, you gotta have the information. You gotta have some information. And then the medium through which you deliver that information is your spirituality, your compassion, your commitment to whatever it is you're talking about. And people can feel that. You know, and sometimes, you know, I know in most colleges they have courses to teach people debate and to teach people speaking. They had both at Princeton. Sometimes I think the training that's given to train people how to be good speakers is really a way of giving them the technique that substitutes. It's an attempt to substitute technique for the commitment and the passion and the truth that the audience is seeking. Because the act of speaking is not an individual experience. The act of speaking is a collective experience. It's an interaction between the speaker and the audience. And the ability to communicate depends in large part also on the readiness of the audience to receive the message that you are trying to bring. So it's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street between the person who is trying to deliver the message and the people who are there to hear the message. You know, and a lot of times, you know, regular folks, they can pretty much feel someone who is not sincere. They can feel insincerity. Sometimes they can feel falsehood. Sometimes they can feel a fraudulent attempt, you know, to persuade them to a position that is not the right position. Sometimes people can feel that, but sometimes they cannot. And that's what's called demagoguery. A person who has very powerful oratorical skills and some information can in fact persuade people to embrace a position totally antithetical to their best interests. And we've had demagogues throughout history in every race and in every community who are great speakers, who are able to sway a crowd and who do so not to fulfill the interests of those who they're speaking to, but in fact, many times to fulfill their own individual interests in their own individual pockets. Speaking is a very powerful thing. You remember those who are Christians, you know about that. There's a passage in one of Paul's letters in the New Testament, and he said, of all the organs in the body, the tongue is the most dangerous. The tongue can set a whole fire.
Wow.
You know that passage? Anybody know that passage?
I do. He said the
Oh,
tongue. He said the tongue is the smallest member of your body.
That's right. But it's the most dangerous,
but it's
right?
the most dangerous and can cause the most dangerous. He
That's right.
It is your tongue is a sword. It can
Right.
either produce life or it can produce death.
Right.
And that was what got when Charlie Kirk was discovered. That's what that old white man who gave him $93 million saw. And that's why he dropped out of college. Right. And that white man said to him, you could be the voice of this new radical racist white movement.
Right.
And he went out there teaching that. So you're right, Larry. It is. And so the mayor gave us a thorough lesson, and you taking it further now by explaining that to us. And remember, that's the problem we're having now is, and the mayor said it, and I've said it to the mayor privately, and you know, Larry, I've said it to you, and the mayor just confirmed it. We don't have any black leadership today. right? Where is it? And the mayor said the same thing.
Well,
Where is it?
let's put it this way. We don't have black leaders of the stature that we had in the previous era. We do have leaders. There are people in posts of authority who are definitely leaders in politics, leaders in economics, leaders in education. They are leaders, but we don't have the leaders of the caliber and the stature that we had, let's say, during the 1960s, 1950s, you know. But fear not, fear not, because history will inevitably produce leaders for our era. You know, in the 1920s, when there was Marcus Garvey, and there was Du Bois, and there was A. Philip Randolph, and many others, in the 1920s, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King weren't even born. They weren't even born until 25 and 29. And, you know, after the demise of Garvey and the attempt, you know, to character assassinate and legally assassinate Du Bois, people said we don't have any leaders. And then we had Paul Robeson. And when they attacked Paul Robeson and took his passport and made it impossible for him to make a living, somebody, we don't have any leaders. And then came this preacher from Atlanta, Georgia, named Martin Luther King. And then came this former hustler and pimp and crook, now turned minister of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X. And on and on and on. I mean, after the assassin, remember, Malcolm and Martin were both assassinated before Ken Gibson was elected. Malcolm was assassinated in 1965. The 60s weren't even over yet. King was assassinated in 1968. The 60s weren't even over yet. Fred Hampton, who the mayor mentioned, was assassinated in 1969. The 60s were right at the tail end. And then what happened? Here comes Amiri Baraka and the Black Arts Movement and the Black Cultural Movement. Here comes the National Black Political Assembly. See, each era produces leaders. Now, in the immediate sense, in the kind of reference to time that's related to our day-to-day activities, we look around and we say there are no leaders. But I'm telling you, be patient and build on whatever leaders you have in front of you. But there will always be great leaders. History, conditions will produce these great leaders. You know, I think our dilemma now, I remember Jesse Jackson, when he was running for president, used to give this speech about rocks on the ground, just rocks laying around. You know, he was building a sermon on the story of David and Goliath, right? Goliath, who was the giant of the Philistines, no one could stand against him. And he was so big and so terrible, he said, we don't even have to go to war. Just send one person from the Israelites to fight me. And if he can defeat me, then we will serve you. And the little shepherd boy came out. His name was David. And he came out. He didn't have a sword. He didn't have a shield. He had a sling and he had some stones. And and according to the Bible, he slew Goliath with his sling. And, you know, Jesse used to talk about, we got to look at the rocks laying around. You know, we are waiting. Let me put it another way. Let me rephrase it. We can't wait on the appearance of great leaders. We have to look at the people around us and say, hey, let's get together and let's try to deal with our situation. If you wait for great leaders, you'll be like that play. I think, Jonathan, you know that play, Waiting for Godot. And you know what happened with Godot. He never showed up. You know, we have to link up with each other. We have abilities and we have skills. We may not be Martin Luther King. We may not be Malcolm X. We may not be Fred Hampton. We may not be Huey Newton or Bobby Seale. We may not be, Marcus Garvey and Du Bois. We may not be them, but we're us. We're who we are. And we are not deaf, dumb, and blind. And all of us are not unskilled. And some of us do have talents. And we have to find the talents within ourselves and bring ourselves together and put those talents and energies together to try to change our situation the best way we can. People say, well, we don't have leaders and we don't have organizations. But look, just 5 years ago, there were more demonstrations in 1 year in the United States than there had been in decades in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd. That was just 5 years. That wasn't 50 years ago. That was 5 years ago. Just earlier this year, people had the No Kings demonstrate. At least 5 million people were mobilized nationwide in more than 2,500 demonstrations that took place across the country. People say there are no organizations that say we're not fighting. I look to the South, to Washington, D.C., and I've seen marches of hundreds of thousands of Black people in D.C., many of them Black, not all of them Black, but many of them Black. They are fighting back against Trump. So, the situation is dire. It's not the way we'd like it to be. We don't have the leaders we wish we had. We don't have the powerful organizations that we wish we had, but we better learn how to use what we do have and try to make that work to the best of our advantage. The worst thing that we could do right now is think it is hopeless, because warfare is not just waged on a physical level. Warfare is also waged on a psychological level. In military parlance, they call it psyops. And the object of psyops is to get you to defeat yourself. To get you to defeat yourself before you even get on the battlefield. And I fear sometimes that that's what many of us have. We're so self-defeated that we can't even bring ourselves to fight. And this, Jonathan, is where what you were talking about comes into play. The role of the speaker, the role of the griot to tell our history, the role of the preacher to connect us to our spiritual force. If it had not been for spiritual force, may not have been won by the enslaved people. They didn't have Christianity, they had voodoo. They had their own spiritual force, no less powerful than whatever spiritual forces we call upon in the religions we have today. But their religion, their speakers, their preachers, their orishas inspired them to go into battle with a frame of mind that victory was not only possible, but that victory was certain. And so an enslaved population defeated the superpower of its day, Napoleon Bonaparte and the French army and the French Navy. So, I say to folks, don't despair. Be realistic. Don't be so idealistic that you can't see what's really going on. But the whole history of Black people is a history of a people fighting against the odds. At no point in the historical development of our people did it actually look like the odds were with us. It always looked like the odds were against us. But in every era, we overcame the odds. They said slavery would last forever. We overthrew slavery. They said Jim Crow would last forever. We overthrew Jim Crow. And now we're faced with a more formidable foe. We're faced with the forces of racism and fascism and Nazism and capitalism, but they can be overcome too. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be casualties along the way. Some folks ain't going to make it, but that's history, you know? And it's better to die for something than to live on your knees all your life. Dr. King said, the man that has not found something to die for is not fit to live. Martin Luther King, Christian preacher, said that.
And Larry, it's interesting. You know, one of my one of the movies I like that around the civil rights era was about the pastor Vernon Johns that preceded Dr.
Yes,
King.
yes.
And the way they close the movie is, well, and I think Pastor Johns walks out and they allude, well, we'll see who follows you. And, you know, and that's the question, like, you know, there will be somebody to fill the shoes, and there are. And I think at the beginning of social media, I remember while I was living in Florida, when I was in the Air Force, my pastor down there, and this was like when social media was really growing. And he said, do you think we're being overexposed? And I was like, no, you know, exposure is good, but I can see how now, you know, all of this information sends us in a lot of different directions, and it kind of prevents us from galvanizing behind one issue.
Mm-hmm.
And that could, you know, because I think there are a lot of, you know, you have Hakeem Jeffries, you have Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. There are many leaders, whether they're in our elected pastor, you know, Principal Kafele's on, Mayor Baraka, you, Larry. I mean, we have all of these leaders that are on, and everybody is doing a lot. You have with Pop, you know, there's a lot that you have been doing consistently. You know, if we look over the numbers, that's leadership. I think Principal Kafele, if I'm sticking with the numbers, he may be up to his 280th Saturday of doing his YouTube about education. You
God
know, and
bless.
then again, yeah, and then the Mondays down at the federal building. Congress, Lord knows Congress, they just got back, but it's for all of us. It's been, since this administration has stepped into office, it has been, what month are we in? 9 months, and, you know, 9 months, and it seems like it's been 9 years. So it's a lot going on, but a lot of people have stepped up and are doing the work, and we just have to stay vigilant. It's a lot.
Right. We have to stay on course and do the best we can. You know, and there's something to be said. The point is not lost on me that, you know, I mean, Minister Farrakhan is still alive. And before Minister Farrakhan, there was Elijah Muhammad. Jesse Jackson is still alive. But they are now, you know, Brother Jackson is in his late 80s, I believe, and Minister Farrakhan is in his 90s. And when Minister Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson leave, God forbid, but when that happens, that will probably be the completion of that class of contemporary leaders that we had in the 1960s, 1970s, etc.
Yep.
You know, all the great, they are the last of the great ones. So it's not lost. You know, there is something to be said. There are great leaders, whether we like it or not. I know about the struggle we have politically about charismatic leaders and that, and I agree that we should try to build democratic organizations, as difficult as that is, you know. But the fact remains that there are, in particular eras, outstanding leaders. And one of the burdens that we have now is because of, we have this whole electronic communications now. You know, in the 19th century, when Frederick Douglass died, he was dead. But now, you know, they make a recording of you when you were alive. We're listening to speeches that Malcolm gave over 65 years ago. We're seeing Malcolm's image and we're listening. And even Elijah Muhammad, even though he passed in 72, he passed after Malcolm. But we still see the image. So they are alive. They are still with us in another sense. But I'm telling you, there will be great leaders every era. The whole of human history shows that every era, great leaders are produced. But we have to do what we have to do with what we have right now in the meantime. You know, the other thing is that we don't have, like, one of the things I learned this year, right? Because I don't know a whole lot. I'm learning all the time. And one of the things that I learned this year is that there was a whole civil rights movement in New Jersey that preceded Dr. Martin Luther King. There was a civil rights struggle going on in New Jersey almost from the turn of the century. There were civil rights advocates, there were leaders, there were lawyers. Yes, there were lawyers. People don't think we had lawyers. We had black lawyers in the 1920s. We had black lawyers in the 1930s. We had black doctors, you know, black PhDs who taught Martin Luther King. You know, he was at Morehouse. He had a whole lot of black people to inspire him at Morehouse, you know. So, but what I learned was that there was a movement that preceded Martin Luther King. And see, we kind of, our perspective is kind of shaped by whatever knowledge we have. And it's also shaped by the knowledge we don't have. And when I learned about this civil rights movement that was going on in New Jersey prior to 1955 and Rosa Parks and Emmett Till, it had an impact on my perspective of things, you know? So, you know, we have to keep fighting for good or for ill, good, bad. What do they say? Good, bad, or indifference. We have to keep fighting. We have no choice.
Chairman,
You know?
before we go into the consent decree, I wanted to ask you, the mayor was talking about, you know, the upcoming governor's race, us getting out and vote.
Right.
Have you had the opportunity to sit down and talk to the Democratic nominee, Congresswoman Sherrill, and her doing more campaigning in Essex County? Have you, you know, is there things that you know that she has done that we should be aware of?
Well, I'm not in the Mikey Sherrill campaign organization. So I dare not speak for the campaign because I'm not in the campaign organization.
Mm-hmm.
I say this, I have met in person with Congresswoman Sherrill, and I have met in person her running mate for Lieutenant Governor, Dale Caldwell, on 2 different occasions. Both of them expressed to me a desire to have a meeting to hear what our concerns are and to work with us to try to bring about a realization of our concerns as well as victory on November 4th. So long story short, I'm going to be scheduling meetings with them for both so that they can interact with members of the People's Organization for Progress and also with the broader coalition, the Martin Luther King People's Convention for Justice and Resistance. Remember, we had that convention in April that was endorsed by 287 organizations. And I would like to get them before in front of both those groups so that they can be questioned and engaged, so people can find out where they stand, so people can make an informed decision on who they're going to vote for on November 4th. But let me say on that particular point that my views are very similar to Mayor Baraka's views on the election. There are only 2 gubernatorial elections in November in the United States: the governor's race in New Jersey and the governor's race in Maryland. A victory in both or either of those gubernatorial races will only strengthen the dictator, Donald Trump. See, we got to use this thing we learned in high school about team sports, right? You know, it's the team, it's their team. And if they win New Jersey, Trump will be on the news talking to the whole country, talking about my great victory in New Jersey. The person that I endorsed before the primary was even over, he won the election, and he's going to make sure that my policies, because Trump is not going to say the Republic, he's going to say my policies are carried out, because that's dictator language, that my policies are carried out in New Jersey. So I think it's imperative that the Trump forces be defeated in New Jersey and be defeated in Virginia.
Yeah, because you said Maryland, it's Virginia and New Jersey. Yeah, I was going to correct.
It's New Jersey and Virginia. I'm sorry if I misspoke and said Maryland, but the 2 races are in New Jersey and Virginia. If Democrats win those 2 races, it will put them in a better position to win the midterms. And see, all of this is about defeating Trump in 28. See, Trump right now is trying to restructure the whole electoral system so that he can steal the election for president in 2028. So he can either reinstate himself for a 3rd term, which would be in violation of the Constitution, but Trump don't care about the Constitution. He don't care about law. He cares about his agenda, which is Project 2025. And they're doing everything they can now to gerrymander, to steal. What did Trump tell the governor of Texas, Abbott? He said, find me 5 congressional seats. It's mathematics. It's math. It's simple math. They need 5 more seats to hold on to their majority. They almost, because they've had some people retire and been defeated in special elections, I think that the Republicans only got like a 3-person majority now. So they want to hold on to the House and they want to hold on to the Senate, but we got to try to take either one or both of them in 26. We got to win this governor's race in 25, got to win the midterms in 26, win the state legislative races in 27, and win the presidential election in 28. And I say this not because I know, because people have said this about me. They said, well, Larry Hamm is a shill for the Democrats. You can call me whatever name you want to call me. I don't care. All I know is I got to get Trump out of there. that he's causing the people to suffer. He's causing pain and suffering and death. His administration is an administration of death. He's put someone in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services who's going to get a whole lot of children killed.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern is to defeat him. And I have to defeat him with the tools that can bring about that defeat. It's unfortunate that we have this two-party system and there's not a powerful third party. Maybe one will come into existence one day, but it ain't gonna happen before 2028. And the dumbass Democrats need to get their act together, because another important election is the New York mayoral race.
Yeah.
New York is an international city. It's not just a city of the United, it is an international city. And if they put either the Republican candidate Sliwa, or they put the Vichy, I don't know if how much y'all know about World War II, but there was the Vichy government in France that collaborated with the, imagine that. The person defeated in the Democratic primary, instead of going with the game, you lost, now get behind the Democrat that won. He gonna run as an independent and then collaborate with Trump. Trump is like pushing Sliwa aside and say, all right, Cuomo, I'll support, I'll do what I can to help you win, because they would rather have Cuomo than have the winner of the Democratic primary, Mamdani. Mamdani won the Democratic primary with the biggest vote in primary history in New York City, over 500,000 votes. And they don't, he won as a Democrat, but they don't like him because he says personally, he's a democratic socialist. Well, I think right now we need some democratic socialism, you know, in this country, the way things are going.
Well, we got to get you talking about the consent decree, but as we go in, I do want to talk.
Where the next guest coming in? I'm talked out, Ed.
Yeah, you got to, but you have to talk about the consent. And you know what? In New York, they've been doing a lot with the consent decree. But before, I do want to say that the last day to register to vote, if you want to participate in the governor's election, is October 25th. The last day to register to vote on November 4th. So you have to register to vote by October 25th. So, October 14th. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And also
you got 25 days to vote.
And also early voting started today in Virginia.
Wow. Wow. And when's November 4th is their election day, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But they started early voting today. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 25 days left to register. Last day to register is October 14th. But and tell us, because go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
Wait a second. I just want to say this before Larry jump into the consent decree. You know, Larry, we've got to overcome, though, some of the major issues with the connectivity that Mikey Sherrill is having, particularly with Black women, right? Because remember, Black women are really the voters, right? And I don't know if you saw that piece that was actually written on our Facebook page, you know, for full disclosure, by you know, Nicole Walters, who used to be with us with the College Entertainment Review magazine. It is a well-written piece, but she had also met with another group of women back in August. And, you know, she's still having difficulty seeing, you know, her connecting with her and other Black women. Because, you know, like I said to the mayor, if you heard me, they don't believe that, one, she's speaking to their issues and concerns. That's one. And then two, she's not really telling folk who she is beyond the fact that she was in the military and some awards that she won, and that she's a mother. Other than that, these Black women are saying, well, who are you?
Right.
They don't know you. And you know, Larry, that politics is really about two things, right? Name recognition and money, right? And and now it's about spirituality. Black women want to fit because of what was done to them in the presidential election. Black women are very skeptical now about voting for white women, right? In particular, because remember, white women turned their back on them, right? They had an opportunity to win, and white women said that they were with black women. And what happened? They went into the booth and voted along with their husbands and then said, oh, oops, right? Because they couldn't see themselves voting for a black woman. So therefore, they were willing to take a misogynistic, racist white man and make him the president, someone who wants to do away with their reproductive systems. They didn't care,
And the
right?
same thing happened when Hillary was running. Did the same thing
Same
happen?
thing happened with Hillary. And what I'm saying is, how do we, Larry, listen, I'm telling you, my brother, I agree. Under no circumstances can we allow Chitterelli to be elected. I support that. The problem is we've got to overcome her connectivity, being able to connect to, and I'm not saying a Democratic Party, I'm saying specifically to black people. Because you got black people who are saying, listen, I know the lesser of two evils is to vote for her, but I just don't like her. I just don't have a connection to her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm
And
saying,
I think it's bigger than that. It's not that they don't like her; they don't know her.
right? That's what I'm saying. They
Yeah,
don't know
and
her,
she's not
right?
bridging, and she's
Well,
not
some
bridging
don't
those.
know and some don't like.
Right.
Okay.
And remember, Larry, what the man said was, he said, you've got to be able to connect emotionally,
Right.
right? And so when she's talking, it's very dry, it's very uncut. She's not speaking to their emotions. So, you know, it's hard. It's like if you go to a black church versus going to a white Catholic church, right? It's going to be hard for black people to stay alive. If stay, not stay alive, but stay awake, right? I mean,
Right.
because you used to hearing, somebody wake you up to the point where you start running around the church. You go to a Catholic church, you sit there and go to sleep, right?
And you know what? And I don't want. And let me be clear. It's not emotional. I think it's more issue based. And we understand that you're a helicopter pilot, but what are the issues that you're going to fight for in our community? I know as of now, there are two commercials I've heard. One was about what she's going to do in terms of utilities. She would do that on day one. And then all the other commercials are basically about her being a helicopter pilot and she cares.
Right.
But there's no issue based.
That's exactly what if you go and read that post,
Nicole.
that's exactly what Nicole said. That's the limit. That's all they know about this lady. Right? We don't know anything else about her.
Right. Well, Ed, I think you're 100% right. You know, there's nothing I can disagree with. The best thing I could say at this point is that those people who have these concerns about Mikey Sherrill, they need to reach out to her campaign, because I'm not a campaign operative for anybody. I do think those concerns are real that you raised, Ed, because they have been voiced to me by other Black women and some men about the candidate, Congresswoman Sherrill. And they, at their own peril, fail to speak to you, and the other people who are raising this issue. If the Democrats really want to win in November, they got to address these issues, because we need that connectivity to get people out to the polls.
Right.
If people don't feel that connectivity with the candidates, they're not going to come out. So like I said, about the speech making before, it's a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street. Yes, we have to go to the polls and vote for the right candidate, but the candidate has to address our issues and make us feel confident, make us have some confidence in her candidacy. That has to happen. And if they fail to do that, they do so at their own peril.
Yeah.
You know. So I agree with you.
And to your point about Mondani, guess what he did in New York? He hit that pavement. People will tell you in New York, he walked from one end of Manhattan to the other end,
He did.
campaigning in the
Yes.
primary. So you
Yes.
have to get out here and campaign.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Queen Mother,
like
we
I
playing
said,
chess.
right. Now, as I said, I'm going to try to schedule meetings with the candidates and get them in front of the groups that I'm a part of. And those questions, those concerns, I hope people will raise in those meetings, you know, because if either you want to win or you don't want to win, you know, and if you want to win, you better, you know, address the concerns of the voters, or you're not going to get them out. And it would be a damn shame for us to be sitting around here on November 5th talking about shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely
Because on
right.
November 5th, it's going to be too late.
But
So
Larry,
whatever we need to do it now.
right, right,
You
and
know,
saying whoever has the ability to talk to this lady, somebody's got to be able to say, look, we've got to find some way to energize, right, the voters, and particularly energize the black folks in the black community who vote for you. We've got to energize them because remember, you know, a lot of these folks are not politically savvy, Larry, but listen, at the end of the day, they're going to vote for you because they like you, right?
right,
They don't
right,
like you. They're like, yo, I don't care what it is. You know, it come election day, Larry, and you know, and they laying in the bed and it's 7 o'clock, or let's just say it start raining or the weather's bad.
right,
They ain't going to vote at all. They're gonna be like, oh
right.
man, good.
Well,
And
well,
you know,
the
the polls are already telling them that the polls are already saying that she up by 8 points, Larry.
right. She has been consistently polling under 10 points in front of Chitterelli. She's been, like, in August, she was 9 points, and the latest poll says 8 points. But you know, the person who really would have the best opportunity to present these concerns is the one you had on before me, and that's Mayor Baraka.
Right.
Mayor Ross Baraka, right now, is the most influential black politician in the state of New Jersey.
Absolutely.
No ifs, ands, and buts about it.
And who thought it not robbery? Sorry, Chairman, but who thought it not robbery? And he went out there and campaigned from one end of the state to the other. Did not take anybody's vote for granted and say because I am this person, you should. No, he went out, knocked door to door, and probably touched some doors 2 or 3 times. And welcome, Brother Dumas. We know that you're with us. So
right.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to say that you have to campaign, you know.
And that's why we got 150,000 votes, Larry.
Yeah, yeah. So I hope that, well, I don't hope, I know that Mayor Baraka will at some point present these concerns to the candidates and to the Democratic Party officials. And I'm sure some of these people in the party know what the deal is. But, you know, right now, you know, we really have to put our best effort behind Mayor Baraka because he has the entree now. They will sit down. They will talk to him anytime he calls. That endorsement he did, I was there. when he did the endorsement out at Mount Zion Hill Church on, is that Bergen Street? Osborne Terrace. I believe is Osborne Terrace, Donna? Or Bergen Street?
I have to check it out. I can't,
Right. I was at the church. It was packed. And many of the Black leaders, Black elected officials from around the state were there. Leroy Jones was there. And wasn't just the Black elected officials. There were other elected officials. The county exec, DiVincenzo, he was there, you know, and many others were there. It was quite an event. And it wasn't like a big event. It was a press conference. People were called together. The press was there. The mayor made his endorsement, and Mikey Sherrill made her speech, and that basically was it. But the news coverage went region wide. What wasn't it the front page of the Star Ledger when Baraka made that endorsement? So he has the entree.
It's on Osborne Terrace, yes.
Right, it's on Osborne Terrace, right. And that coupled with the Black agenda meetings that he's been having statewide, you know, also provide the fuel, the ideas for the agenda that he can present when the opportunity presents itself. So we really have to get behind the mayor and make sure that the candidates sit down with him, and so that he can present these concerns. Because he in the hour that he was on before I came on, he said the same thing. He said that he knows that there's shortcomings, you know, but what do you do when there are shortcomings among your forces? You know, you come up with a plan to compensate for whatever shortcomings that you have. You know,
and let's not forget the most important thing he said, that it doesn't start on it just starts on election day. We have to hold our elected officials accountable, hold them to task, stay engaged. It's
right.
It's, you know, we have to shape their agenda by making phone calls, doing whatever we need to do to see that our agenda moves forward.
Right.
And I know you've been talking
right.
since you came on. We have journalist Mr. Dumas with us, and we're going to be talking
All right.
about the.
Well, let me jump off so he
and I
can
just want
have
to let
center
you know
stage.
he's going to be talking about the contributions that Payne Sr. and Payne Jr. did, not only locally but to the international community. So I don't know if you want to say anything before he left.
No, I will decrease so that he may increase.
Well, Larry, before you go, you got to tell us what's going on with the consent decree.
They got to come back.
You should have asked that question first, Ed.
No,
well, the bottom line is the consent decree is coming to an end. And they had a public meeting on the 16th at St. John's AME Church in Newark on Bergen Street. I was there, and other members of POP were there, and many other people from the community were there, different organizations represented. And what Peter Harvey did was present his final report on the progress. And it's a document. I should have brought it. It's in my car. I should have brought it upstairs. But it is a document. It's about a 50-page document. It's the final report of the independent monitor on the progress that was made on the implementation of the reforms to the Newark Police Department called for in the consent decree. The consent decree is a document. It's a document that had a schedule of things that needed to be done to correct problems within the Newark Police Department. And so every quarter since he came into office, since he became the independent monitor, he's held a public meeting. And throughout these years, I think the consent decree has been active for 9 years. I think this is the 9th year. It was only supposed to be 5 years. And this is the 9th year. He also reported that he's going before the judge, the federal judge in Newark on October 2nd to present his report to the judge. And the judge, I guess, will make the final determination or give the blessing or whatever it needs to be done to wind it up, because it was supposed to be 5 years. It's 9 years. The Trump administration is no longer committed to these consent decrees. In fact, the official policy now of the U.S. government is police brutality, and the institution is a police state. You know, that's where we at now. Trump closed the database on the Department of Justice of bad cops. He has said that he wanted to discontinue any existing consent decree processes, and he's not going to initiate any new consent decrees. So, you know, that basically was it. Peter Harvey made a report. They took questions and comments from the audience, and it was it lasted from about 6 o'clock to about 8 o'clock. But that's where we are. It's going. My biggest concern, I spoke at the meeting, and my biggest concern was that anecdotally, meaning that I didn't take a survey, but you know, it seems to be less police shooting deaths, although we did see the killing of Carl Dorsey by a police detective, and in fact, coincidentally, a federal judge made a ruling in the Dorsey case just a few days before the consent decree meeting was held. And, you know, we were there with signs demanding justice for Carl Dorsey. I mean, the pressure really need to be put on the court, but it's interesting that the judge in the case actually referred to the consent decree and said because Newark had made progress regarding correcting deficiencies in the police department, that it shouldn't be held liable for the death of Carl Dorsey.
Wow.
And we totally disagreed with that. You know, like, y'all just gonna walk away. You know, nobody is gonna be punished. No penalties are gonna be exacted for the death of this unarmed man who was shot and killed by police in Newark. Unacceptable. Go ahead, Ed.
No, I'm shocked. But like you said, I mean, Trump shut it down. So, I mean, you know, what is there to I mean, I think that, you know, Larry, we've, you know, like Sister Ava said, I think we've got to go back to those Saturday academies, but we've got to be talking about, you know, organizing in such a way that we've got to be talking about how do we protect ourselves and our community, right?
That's a good point. Yep.
You know, because like the mayor said, I mean, you know, even when all of the mayors are getting together, they're talking about the invasion, right, of the National Guards into their cities. So,
Right.
you know, and that was one of the things that Minister Farrakhan said about 5 years ago, that Black folk did not want to happen because these people are not police. These people are military people. And when they're armed, they're not coming to negotiate. They're coming to kill you, right? And so, you know, we have to be clear about that no amount of guns that we have are ever going to be able to outgun the federal government, right? And these people will have the license to kill us. So, you know, we've got to be clear about where we're not, and we've got to be clear where we are, and then we've got to begin to do something about it. That's why I think that what the preachers were saying yesterday on that call was good. You know, they said that starting Sunday morning that they need to give the temperature to Black people, and any preacher that's not telling you exactly what's going on and what you need to be doing, you need to leave that church, right? So just like you're saying now, Larry, that, you know, we under no circumstances should we not be talking about organizing. And yeah, you know, we've got to find a way to overcome Cheryl. But at the end of the day, we've got to find a way to be able to go beyond that, right? To organize ourselves,
That's
right?
right.
No other choice. I mean, Malcolm said the times and conditions will cause us to come together. Well,
Right.
these are the times and these are the conditions.
There it is. Yep. I agree with you.
So, thank you,
100%.
Larry. I appreciate you coming on, my brother, and staying on, and your contribution with man, you know, is always invaluable, brother.
All
And I
right.
don't know if you heard, so next week is the ALC, and I'll send you the information because Mayor Baraka, the Congressional Black Caucus annual legislative conference, and he's speaking
Okay.
next Thursday at 3 p.m. So
Wow.
I'll send you. Yeah, I'll send you the info.
All right. All
Okay.
right. All right. Take care.
All right,
Peace.
Larry. Peace, brother.
Peace. Peace.
Brother Dumas, what happened? We just lost Brother Dumas. And
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
I saw him coming on, but
maybe
you
he
know.
clicked off. So
So
while we wait for Brother Dumas to come back, and we have to, I do believe that with this platform, we do have to remind people, hey, Brother Dumas, that October 14th is the last day to register. You have 25 days to register to be a part of the November election. Brother Dumas, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. And you?
Thank you for your patience. So, go ahead. We keep losing you.
I know he keep jumping off.
Okay. So 25 days to register to
I
vote.
think he might be having some problems, Donna.
Yeah. Let's see if he gets back on.
Mm-hmm. But go ahead. You said we've got
I was
another
saying 25 days register to vote, and we're going to have to make a plan and to be in these locations. I know Larry just said he's going to try to organize 2 meetings under the MLK Commission and under POP. Hey, Brother Dumas, you okay?
Yes, yes. I don't know what's going on, but now I think everything is working well. But yes.
Okay. All right. So jump on in. We know that you're going to continue your conversation from last week. And you were talking about Congressman Payne Jr. and Congressman Payne Sr. And remembering both of them, and particularly Congressman Payne Sr. and his contributions. While he served, he was known as Mr. Africa. You know, I know the story that Congressman Payne Jr. tells of his father doing work over in Africa and coming back from Somalia, and how he was on a plane that I believe was almost shot down at one time when pirates were in the process of trying to take over a fleet out in the waters over there. So there was a lot, you know, if you go, and I'm sure today now, even if, you know, mentioning Congressman Payne's Senior's name, if you were in a room with an African delegation, they would just go on and on about the work that he was doing, that he did during his time of service.
Yes, thank you for this great resume. And for people outside of the United States, and especially people in Africa and in Haiti, Donald Payne Sr. was Mr. Africa, but also he was a member of the Oversight Committee and the Human Rights Committee. So this is where exactly his work was impacted the rest of the world. So people in the US, yes, they know him as someone who served, but for some folks outside of the United States, he was like a savior, because a lot of people, thanks to his work into the human rights committees, they got out of jail. They got out of police custody, and also they had a way out of their country, out a lot of misery. So September 15 was the International Day of Democracy, and September 21st will be International Day of Peace. So for a man that we call Mr. Africa, and for his son also, because Donald Payne Jr. Follow his father's footsteps. he was very involved into politics outside of the US, and he supported Haiti a lot, especially Asian into the diaspora. I remember him coming to the community, supporting a lot of Asian candidates, supporting a lot of events, May 18 or different kind of event. So him and his father, and just like I said last week, it's very rare for a father to open the political door and for his son to following him. And I know a lot of politicians, they wish to have their son or their daughter to follow the footstep and also to continue their work. And as a man that fought for democracy, for human rights, and for peace around the world, for this week when we're celebrating. Now there's a lot of great meeting going on in the United Nations where they're talking about peace, where they're talking about democracy, and also in the US, people now, a lot of people are finding out democracy is not for granted. I was listening to the mayor, and we are talking about we do not have a national leadership. But I remember August 28th, the mayor was in New York with the Reverend Al Sharpton. I think Al Sharpton followed the footsteps of Martin Luther King, J.C. Jackson. I listen to Al Sharpton like every single day into the week because he got a radio show. And also we need to take into consideration Al Sharpton when we're talking about black leadership, because I think he deserves it for all the thing he did. And one, what people know about Donald Payne Sr., it's what is on the internet. But for people outside of the US, they have personal experience, or their father or the other people inside of the country tell them directly about their experience with Donald Payne Sr. and Donald Payne Jr. And not a lot of people knows that City Hall of East Orange, they have a plaque outside the City Hall of East Orange, where there's a dedication for Donald Payne Sr. So for me, as someone from Haiti, when Duvalier was in power, a lot of people got killed. A lot of people were murdered under this dictator, and they they have a national day, February 7, where a lot of people doing saying Donald Payne Jr. Made some call to help them because a lot of people were in exile into the US, in New Jersey, in New York, and they went to see Donald Payne Sr. and then he tried to do why he can't. Jimmy Carter did a lot of things also, but we want to remember Donald Payne Sr. and Donald Payne Jr. for the work, for the countless life they saved, because he advocated for them. And I think Haiti should do something greater than just me talking about them. But for all they did, especially Donald Payne Sr., people in Africa. I was reading a book from a politician from Africa, and then he said, yeah, the political parties, and then I think it's Kenya or something, but I don't know. I don't remember exactly the name of the country, but I had the book in my house, and sometime I spent time reading it. And he said when the government came over and then they break a station, radio station, and then they put everybody into jail. And then it was Donald Payne Jr. To different people that said that made a call, and when a call is from the United States or Washington or the US Congress, people around the world listen, and they're not gonna do much, but they're gonna do a little. And sometimes this little means someone out of jail, means someone their life were spared. So for me, it's a great honor for. And also Donald Payne Sr. was a colleague, was a colleague. He always come to the show every month to give his report. So we miss him very much, and I think we should take a day, a 1 September, when we're talking about democracy every year, to remember all he did, him and his father, and remember people that he was on the show every month. talking about what he was doing in Washington. And with him, I felt that we are the voice. If we have a concern, we can tell him, we have this concern, take it to Washington. And if something going on inside of the Congress, he will be the guy, he will be the one that came and tell us exactly so what's going on. So I think we should put that into our calendar for every year, around September 15 and September 21st, to remember Donald Payne Sr. and Donald Payne Jr. for the work they did inside and outside of the United States, especially Mr. Africa. That's why I'm taking this time to talk about him and to help other people remember exactly what he did.
Well, Brother Dumas, let us not forget one thing about both Payne Sr. and Payne Jr. They were feet on the ground in the community, and they would be walking around right now with the candidate who's running for office who would best serve the 10th congressional district. And keeping that memory in mind, has can you say that the Haitian community in the 10th congressional district or in the state of New Jersey, the whole, has put their vote behind one candidate yet, or are they still out making decisions?
I think we lost him again, Donna.
You did.
Yeah, I think every time he goes off camera, he ends up
switch back and forth.
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly what that is. But but he said the 15th. Now, did the celebration already happen?
Yeah, it was September 15th, and then September 21st is the Day of Peace. I think that's what he was saying. September 15th was International Day, and then September 21st is the Day of Peace.
And all of this takes place where? In Haiti?
It's a calendar day, so I think different communities celebrate it differently. Yeah. And for himself, and I think he highlighted, like Mayor Green has a plaque outside of City Hall. Councilwoman Garrison in Hillside, they did it. We knew about the park that they named after Congressman Payne Jr. We know that county exec did Donald Payne the building after him. So there's between Payne Sr. and Payne Jr., there are several memorials that have gone on throughout the county and throughout the state.
And these celebrations, I mean, it's not a state holiday or anything. It's just what's being celebrated in the community.
Yeah, I think these are more dates that are on the calendar, more, I don't want to say political or community holidays that are celebrated. And again, by community, they might do like a resolution or different things in each community.
How long this been going on?
That I'm not sure. We have to, I can bring it up. So,
yeah.
The International Day of Peace has been going on for a long, International Day of Peace has been going on for a while.
But all of that's encompassed around Donald Payne Sr.?
No, what Brother Dumas is saying is that let us not forget the work that we done. These are our own heroes in our community. And when we consider these days, let us forget that we have these heroes who did such work. And Congressman Payne, his work in Africa was just he did a whole lot of work in Africa that and because we have a community that has tremendous needs, we probably don't even understand the work that he was, and I'm talking about Payne Sr., the work that he did abroad.
Yeah, we most certainly didn't. But but you're right. I mean, I think that, most folks, they may have not have known exactly what he was doing, but we did know that he, was, the one in Congress that had, particularly in the 10th district, that had connection, back to Africa, as it relates to our people. So, yeah.
So the International Day of Peace is a world peace holiday sanctioned by the United Nations and is celebrated annually on the 21st of September and is dedicated to world peace. And specifically, as it says, the absence of war and violence, such as might be occasioned by a temporary ceasefire in a combat zone for humanitarian aid access. So that will probably be what's going on several places, notably Ukraine, what's going on in Gaza, hopefully on the day, that they're able to get a ceasefire. I know that while down in London, there were some conversations about peace. However, I don't think that the United States and UK, they were able to come to an agreement on what that peace looked like. So I don't think they were able to get that far, other than they were both not happy from what I'm hearing on the news, what was going on. And they both suggested that more pressure needs to be put on Russia. From the U.S. standpoint, is those who are part of the United Nations should stop buying gas from there, and then we would do more. But it was like, back and forth as to who was going to do what, and it wasn't clear how it was going to come forth.
Yeah, but I,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Donald Trump wants to put any sanctions on Russia. You know, I think that all of that is a farce. I don't think that just like he was the guy who said that he could get them to agree to peace in 24 hours, right? So none of that's come to fruition, and you know, I mean,
What was that, August 28th?
yeah, I mean, and you think about what's going on in Gaza. I mean, the truth is that these folks see Gaza as an opportunity to build some sort of major tourist attraction, right? Move all of those people out there, tear the land up, and build all these great hotels and so forth, as though these people never even lived there.
Yeah.
So, I don't think around this great international day of peace, I mean, that would be great, but but they don't need peace for just one day. They need peace, for the rest of their lives. But
They
down,
need peace and a plan, to be just see the people, oh my God, literally carrying everything they had on their back, or to see people carrying their children from one place to another because this place is getting bombed, and it's just it's a lot, you know.
I think they got a plan, Don. I think the plan is
No,
ex-
not what Israel. I'm saying a plan for those. You just can't tell people we're getting ready to bomb in X amount of time. Get up and move. Where they gonna move to? Where people.
well. I think they want to eventually keep doing that. So hopefully, those people, will move outside of the country. And then once they get out, they're not going to let them back in their own country, right?
Mm,
So I think that might be the goal. I mean, because I mean, you heard Donald Trump. I mean, he threatened to kill all the people, right? He was like, just totally go ahead and annihilate the people. That's what he said. Remember, he gave them a certain length of time, and he said that if they didn't release the hostages, right, he was going to just kill everybody. I mean, who
listen,
does that? You know? I mean, absolutely no concern for the people.
who have already been displaced and who are living.
Yeah,
It's just, yeah. Brother Dumas, are you there? So he's trying to come in. Brother Dumas, just start speaking once you come in.
he looked like he's muted.
And you're muted. Make sure you know that you're muted. We can't hear you if you are talking. There you go.
Hello.
Brother, yeah.
Ah,
Everything.
wow.
Are you sitting? Are you
Yes.
sitting still?
I really don't know what's going on with the signal. Probably, I don't know. I don't want to make any conspiracy theory, but it's kind of a
Look,
problem. So I
I
don't
And,
know.
know
It.
it.
and where you at, brother Dumas? Where you at?
Yes, I am in East Orange, and I
Oh,
have a good connection outside. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on. I don't know. Probably. I'm not gonna say. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying
You
nothing.
got to put that.
But
You got to put that antenna out the window. That wire hanger.
yes, I don't know if somebody else is doing something, but with this time, because um since into the community, a lot is going on. There's a lot of fear, and we and they are watching, they are listening, and I don't know, but
And when
it's
when you say there's
it's
a
very
lot of
difficult.
fear, what are they afraid of?
Well, the immigration stuff.
Okay.
This is we are on the police state, and people's phone are being listened to, especially since I'm a journalist. I'm making a lot of comment, and we know what's going on with Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, and a lot of people. So this is very uh it's like a nightmare. Sometimes I'm trying to say really exactly so really in America. So this is very it's like a shock. It's a shock when you used to live in a place and then you find out so everything is being reversed. This is not good, but we know what is going on, and we need to stick together. And it's not only um what is going on into the US. Now we need to be clear about that. What is going on into the US will have a ripple effect around the world. Just like I was telling you about a lot of stories, people's life were spared when there's a call from Washington to say, so this guy, he got some rights from Donald Payne Sr., who was sitting on the oversight committee or the human rights committee. A lot of people in Africa, especially in Haiti, I know people, if I call them and then they say, yes, my life was spared because a call from Washington, because a call from a congressman, Donald Payne, or from people's working into the Jimmy Carter administration. A lot of people in politics right now, a lot of journalists back then into Duvalier's era. So a lot of lives were spared because the US were valued human rights, democracy, and peace. But now a lot of people, they really don't know. So what is going to happen? So what is going on? I understand the show is basically politics that is going on inside of the US. But I think you should have someone that gonna come around and tell you exactly so what is going on around the world and what are the impact of the US as into politics around the world, especially in Haiti, because every administration, new administration from the US, people's politics in Haiti, they have to recalculate, they have to recalibrate, they have to change their perspective or their perspective based on the change into the United States. So this
But
is
but brother Dumas, let me ask you a question. I mean, are folks in the Haitian community, are y'all being harassed the way the Mexican or the Latino community is being harassed? Are y'all being harassed like that?
yes, I can tell you, yes, but in New Jersey, things are very different until now. This is why I was listening to the mayor and for this upcoming election. It is important for people that are listening. They need to understand it. This election will not only impact um, uh, uh, people who is the citizen or people who can vote. It will also impact a lot of immigrant life, and I can say African American, Spanish. Even though you are a U.S. citizen, so people gonna question you. And Jonathan is not here, but if I'm walking onto the street with Jonathan, so people gonna, if I'm speaking Creole and Jonathan is not speaking, so probably they're gonna say, oh, since I'm speaking Creole, so they're gonna say, oh, I'm a Asian. So if Jonathan is not speaking, they might say those two guys they are Asian, because before Jonathan proved it. So I take the example of Jonathan. Love him a lot, and he's a cool guy, and I have to thank him for a lot of support he gave me. So to tell you, time is very dangerous. Yes, we are being on the watch. I know some folks that are leaving the state. They are moving around to see where they're gonna go. So for us, and this is the I want to make that point around, especially for the African American community. It's not the result of this upcoming election in New Jersey will not only impact you, but it will impact a lot of people that look like you and people that living around you, people that go into the same school with your kids, your co-workers, and everybody agree on these things. So if you come illegally and you doing bad things, so there should be some consequences. But it's not about that. It's about just like this young man that lost his life, and I condemn the way that thing happened. So, but he was speaking about like on the great replacement, and he is saying immigrants are not good. So this is not truth. People come here to help the country. People love this country. I have to tell you, people love America. I really don't understand. So where they getting those information saying people immigrant do not love or does not love the United States of America? No, I'm from Haiti, and I can tell you. So when people come here, it's like a victory for them. They come here to stay. They come here to make a better life. And guess what? Talking about the politics outside of the U.S., it's a win for the U.S. because China and Russia they doing their thing in world. But if someone got a family living into the U.S. and then they support him, so automatically this guy will automatically defend the US. It's people see immigrant only as someone that come into the US and they do this, they do that. But the same guy, he got some family who is a senator or who is a diplomat. He gonna influence him about what's going on in the US. They're gonna say, "Oh, you need to vote in the same way when you're voting into the UN or when you're voting on those organizations, you need to follow or you need to understand what the US is saying and then try to vote." So the issue of immigration, it's not only in the US, but it got a lot of repercussion uh, back outside of the US. So for me, an immigrant, it's someone that come here who helping the economy. And if something happened, they need to investigate that to see exactly so what's going on and follow the laws. So, and for me, I wanted to add that about debate. I love watching this movie from Denzel Washington. The name is the Great Debaters. Denzel Washington had a lot of a group of kids, and then he went around and winning some debate from college to college. And there is a powerful statement. The last debate I think took place in Harvard University. A group of black people back into the 1800, they went to Harvard and then they laid out the story. And the mayor was right. You need to move people. What is moving people? It's emotion. You need to tell them your story and to appeal to the human side. And I think that's what gonna help this country moving forward. They talking about Asian eating dogs and cat. So are they valuing uh,
Hmm.
uh, different
I
kind of
remember.
life? So we need to think about that. And also, I am very pleased to use to share the this good panel with Donald Payne Sr. And with the Donald Payne Jr. And I'm very happy for all his father, the Donald Payne Sr. And we need to remind people, especially people into the African American community, people outside of the country, they are counting on the US. They are counting to see the human side. They are counting on what the US is saying. When anything goes bad into the US, well, guess what? So the rest of the world is in a bad shape. And I know this guy, those people inside of this administration, they don't understand that, and they don't want to understand that. But people inside of the US, especially the African American community, yes, they have to understand that. And this is why I love this show so much, even though I'm not on the show, but I always do an effort to listen or to ask some question. But my appeal to you guys, if you see Mikey Sharrows not doing something,
Mm-hmm.
please help her around, because the repercussion. I remember when Kamala Harris lost the election, people were saying a lot of things. I think we cannot do this mistake. I think we cannot play one saying this, saying that. Yes, she got a
Mm-hmm.
lot. She's not Barack Obama. She's not Ras Baraka. We know that. We know that for sure. But if she lost this election, the situation will be very bad for the immigrant. But it's not
Mhm.
gonna be better for the African American people, for the Spanish people. We can talk a lot, we can ex her,
Right.
but on the day of the election, we need to do what is right. We still gonna be able to talk to her, but if she lost the election, we know we will not be able to talk to this guy. We know exactly what's going on. We know exactly what will happen. We cannot afford for that to happen. We still can
Brother,
call her out. We still can do a lot of things, but I think people need to realize to do
the
the right
severity
thing.
of it. And Brother Dumas, what is former Mayor Champagne doing these days?
Yes, hello.
And Mayor Champagne, what is he doing during these days? Former
Well,
Mayor Champagne.
um, not a lot, not nothing
Okay.
that I'm aware of, but he always want
Hmm.
mobilize the community, try to organize the community, and
Okay.
yes, and he's still there. Now
Okay.
we ask him a lot of question, a lot of advice, but
Hmm.
he's suffering just like the Asian community is suffering, but he's still there.
Hmm.
I do not talk to him a lot, but I'm aware that he's speaking with a lot of youth, especially around the election. So to tell them you need to go to vote and to support the community. Yes, he's still
Okay.
there, and he's doing his job.
He's still on the ground working.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And talking about the ground working, last I think 2 weeks ago, no, 2 weeks ago, Mark Sherrill was in West Orange, and next Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
there will be an event. I think Councilwoman Shanette Frederick is part of this activity, and I'm gonna talk to her so she can come around to speak on a all political local.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to yeah, please, and let's both reach out to her because I know she's speaking. I know she had did some work around sickle cell, so I thought she was speaking around that. But anything that you have where Mikey Sherrill, and if you have the flyer, please send it to us.
Yes, I think Councilwoman Shanette Frederick is the best person to talk with, and then she gonna follow up with that.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll make sure. So thank you, and don't what is there anything specific that you did for International Day that you will be doing for International Peace Day?
Yes, from September 15,
Mhm.
International Day of Democracy.
Mhm.
For the last 10 years, my organization, Think Tank Democrat, we always do some Zoom conferences. I used to go in Haiti a lot. On
Mhm.
September, I always
Mhm.
went down to Haiti to speak to the youth about democracy and peace. But since 2019, I cannot go down to my country because of all those insecurities, a lot of gang violence. So what we do now, so we had different guests talking about politics, talking about economy, talking about social unrest in Haiti, and we had our last speaker was Serge Fac. He is a guy from Cameroon, and then he made a great conference for us talking about all the thing that is going on in Africa right now, just like the mayor was talking about Traore. But I think we need to keep pushing, defending democracy around this time and peace. So for September 21st, we're gonna conclude our week of activities from September 15th to September 21st. We're gonna speak about we're gonna get a guest from Israel. So he's a Asian diplomat is living in Israel right now, and then he's gonna talk about what is going on. We're gonna have another guest, Alfredo Vargas. He's a guy from the DR, and he's gonna address the situation between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And we're gonna have a pastor that's gonna talk about what the church can do into different difficult time and what Jesus said. And I know a lot of right nationalists, Christian nationalists, they're using the Bible. They're using the Bible a lot, talking about Jesus. When we know Jesus will never separate families, Jesus will never discriminate against anyone.
Jesus will
And
be flipping some tables over right now.
yes, exactly. Yeah, so thank you so much. And I think we need to keep talking about we need a day to remember Donald Payne Sr. and Donald Payne Jr. For all the work they did for human rights around the world in Africa and in Haiti.
And,
Hey,
and
hey,
I'm going to keep telling you, I can hear Payne Sr. saying it, and I can hear Payne Jr. fussing that you got to get out there and vote. October 14th is the last day to register. So make sure you keep sounding that alarm that everybody has to register to vote and they have to get out and vote on November 4th.
hey, brother Dumas,
Yes.
before you
Yes.
leave, I wanted to ask you a question. Has anyone from the Trump campaign reached out to speak directly to the Haitian community?
Yes, can you repeat that again?
Do you know if anyone from the Cheryl campaign has reached directly to the Haitian community to speak to the Haitian community?
Yes, but just recently, with Councilwoman Shanette Frederick, she's a councilman in Irvington, and they're gonna have an event for Machero, especially for the Asian community. When the other guy had like more than two meeting already, and I know some Asian that went to his last meeting in Irvington. So, yeah, exactly. Just to tell you that her campaign is not that just like the mayor just said it, active or and there's a lot of critique and those are facts. Those are facts, and we know she's not just like I said it. She's not Barack Obama. She's not Ras Baraka, but we need to help her Iran so we can keep the state blue, and that gonna help us a lot into the future.
And what about the other guy? What about Chivalry? Has he reached out to speak to you all?
Yes, multiple time. There is I mirrored at least two events that he
Uh-huh.
did with the Asian community. Yeah, unfortunately, but now I think next week Max Show will have a chance to speak with the Asian community. But she had an event like 2 3 weeks ago in West Orange I did so a lot of because Mayor Ted Green organized that event in West Orange. But next week she's gonna have another event in Irvington, I guess, with Councilwoman Janet Frederick.
And so that's also with Mayor Tony Vargas up there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, keep us abreast, man. Let us know how that go. Let us know if you get a good turnout.
All right, thank you so much, and I will be following you. And thank you for what you did because I'm learning a lot. Believe it or not, I'm learning from you. I'm learning a lot from you. Thank you so much, and keep doing the great work. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, man.
I
We
really
appreciate
appreciate
your
it.
contribution, brother. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. And Brother Dumas, I sent you a text.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I will send it. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Donna, I'm not sure where Rhino is. I mean, I texted him to see whether he was coming on, so I don't think he's coming on.
Yeah, he's still celebrating his birthday.
So not sure. But listen, I mean, we can talk a little bit about hip hop. Have you seen what's going on with Damon Dash?
No, what's going on with Damon Dash now?
So
Well, I
so
know. Is this something going on with Cameron?
well, yeah, it involves Cameron, right?
Okay. I seen the background, but go ahead.
But really, I mean, what I saw on Roland Martin, uh, you know, Roland was freaking out, right? Because apparently the Vibe had put an article out there, and instead of investigating the article, they took the statement directly from Dame Dash, who said that he was the new chairman for what's video company. Um, oh man, it just
You
drew a
got
blank.
wait, you
You
got
know, it's a
Hoover.
video company. It's like the video company.
Oh, you saying Puff's company? I'm thinking you saying Jay-Z.
Yeah.
I
It
don't know Puff's company.
it begins with an R. Um,
You're not saying Puff, or you saying Jay-Z?
no,
Not
Puffy.
Rock.
Remember, Puff
Not
had a video company where he was putting videos on and so forth. But Revolt.
Revolt. Okay.
So so Dame Dash went on the morning show with Charlemagne, and he told Charlemagne that he was the new chairman for Revolt. So Vibe produced this article, on on their website and so forth, and they didn't investigate it. They didn't call the president of Vibe to confirm that or anything. Anyway, he was going around saying, he was the new chairman and so forth,
So let me
and
see.
comes out, that the president of the company said that's not true,
Yeah.
right? And then, he said that, he was negotiating to buy the company at one point, and he's gonna put all of his movies up there, and now he's gonna take. I mean, I'm like, what is going on in popular culture? What is happening? I'm saying with everything going on in the world, I mean, what is all of this stuff that and then of course, you got them arguing over who owns the rights to Paid in Full. Is it 50 cents or
And
is it
that's
Dame
you
Dash
talking about the movie Paid in Full?
Paid in Full? Yeah, because they're
Yeah.
gonna do a remake of that. So 50
Okay.
Cent says that, I mean, the press release was saying that 50 Cent bought the rights to that,
Okay.
right?
And,
So and Dame Dash is saying that's not true. He's making making statements to Cameron, and he's saying to Cameron, say hello to your new boss, right? I
yeah,
saw
now I've seen that article. Yeah, say hello to yeah.
right. So I'm like, what's going on in pop? I don't even know. I
Well, the
mean,
funny thing about anything that comes out of Dame Dash Mask, you always give the side eye because he's just always suspect, and he's like messy. He's
yeah,
always just and like because when him and Jay-Z originally went their separate ways, and I'm not as involved, but I know everybody, from the surface it was like, oh man, but then you got to start seeing Dame do these interviews and everything, and you're like, oh, I understand, because Jay-Z, first of all, don't talk a lot. He's one of his stronger attributes about Jay-Z is that he's a really good listener, and he says he doesn't say a lot, which is a very good thing.
Right.
And so I can tell in terms of, especially for them, not part of a group, but just for them to be two partners, it probably, especially as Jay-Z evolved, they definitely went two separate ways.
Right.
And just because he's still acting like 20 years ago, he's still just a little bit extra. And I know, I don't know if it was Dame Dash who made the comment about 50, because 50 bought a whole lot of property down in Louisiana.
Right.
And it was a very ignorant comment. It's like you had to go buy property cheap. It's like, well, that would be a great real estate opportunity. You buy low and sell high type of thing. And so I'm sure 50 probably bought like a whole block down there, and his intentions is to do a lot more filming, kind of sort of what's going on up here in Newark. He has a whole production studio that he plans on building out down there and putting out a lot of films. And I want to say his catalog is already big, in terms of movies and things that he, with the Power, because out of Power came what 3 or 4 you had, I think there were 3 or 4 right off of the Power, and just the little things that we don't know about. So I don't think anybody can speak. I know he on his hustle game in terms of movies and writing. 50 has definitely done a lot in that area.
But
and
that's
a lot of people have even the contributions that people have spoken on in terms of reviving their career or giving them the opening the door for their career.
But that's what I think. That's what 50 said he wanted to do with Paid in Full. He didn't want to do it as a movie. He wanted to create a series,
okay,
right?
like Power,
Sort of like what he did with Power, right? And I think I heard him say somewhere, he said it was more lucrative to do a series, and it was less expensive than doing a movie, right? So you could do these series almost like you remember our experience with that kind of stuff was when we were children, when we would come home and our mothers would be watching soap operas, and it seemed like soap operas would never end, right? I mean,
all my children is still on.
It is. See,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Does it still come on? Does it still come on at 1 o'clock?
I know they do have afternoon soap, and it's funny because they have a black soap opera. I believe that's on Paramount or one of the streaming networks. That it's just too much. But yeah, they do have a black soap opera now too.
Because I can remember, but that's what I'm saying. So 50 cents easier to do those, but I remember that was my experience, right? So now everything is sort of shifted to that, right? So you see, when you buy, when you download all of these, apps and so forth, what you buy now is a series, right? So like the Malcolm X story, right? Or you look at, anything you purchase, it's like you get first series, second series, third series, fourth, and you look at all
the. And shout out to Zaid on the Malcolm X Netflix. He was watching out. My husband's like, look, there goes Zaid, your boy Zaid.
Yeah. So that's what you're watching now on Netflix?
No, we watched it last week after the thing. He was like, hey, there your boy Zaid. I was like, yo.
Yeah. So
I had watched it before, but to your point, and I have to say 50, I know which one actually had me, and I don't know if you watched some of the Powers, but the prequel Kanan, because he's actually done this one. He actually did Power, then the one where the kid went to college, and then now he's his father, and then Tommy goes to Chicago, and then they did the prequel, and that one I really like. And the young man who's playing like the young And I want to say it's loosely based off of 50's life, but who's playing him? He was a kid from Jersey. So,
Yeah.
then it captures you that way because it's local artists that are getting these opportunities. So and Paid in Full is based on a true story, I believe.
Yeah.
Loosely based on some young man from New York.
The thing is, I watched um, Power when it first came out,
Mm-hmm.
but then at some point it was like, it had no real political value to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the name Power, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was a guy who was trying to open up a legitimate business to get out of the drug and murder business,
Mm-hmm.
right? And but it was not doing anything, I think, to really move. And when I say culture, I mean black people forward,
Mm-hmm. I
right?
got you.
But there are people who would think that it did something for their culture because they, who are in that world
Right.
because
Mm-hmm.
it was influential to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Bashir and I used to talk about this. I didn't really like it because I understood that I mean those old gangster movies and all of that has always been profitable, particularly not only in say other communities like the Italian community. But
Mm-hmm.
remember, there was a conversation years ago where even the Italians were saying they didn't want to be portrayed
No,
like
they didn't. They was really upset with
right.
yeah. What was
Yeah,
the movie?
so I think
Uh
it was The Godfather, wasn't it?
Not the guy, the series. What is the that they filmed in Elizabeth and Bloomfield and
Oh
all of
yeah,
that?
yep, yep. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to be looking like they were the bad guy.
The Sopranos. No, they didn't want
Right.
that.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. At some point with Power, I would tell Bashir, he would say, "Hey man, did you see Power last night?" No, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the
Um,
replay of what Coffee and them. A lot when Coffee and them, we thought it was exploitation. You
oh yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, but but from my perspective, Donna, those were the only movies we had,
Yeah.
right? So what other black movies were being made, right? It wasn't until I don't have you ever seen The Spook Who Sat by the Door?
No, I never. I'm not a scary person movie, but I know that had a lot of other semblance. So no, I haven't,
Right.
and I
Yeah.
probably can go back and watch it now.
Yeah. The Spook Who Sat by the Door was nothing about spookism. It was about
Hmm.
a black FBI guy who, right,
Hmm.
went in and act like he was one of them. And what
Right.
he did was he took all those skills and all that information and came back and fed that to the black community and raised up a bunch of brothers who were absolutely skilled with that kind of training, right? That
Okay.
level of surveillance. And so, but that's sort of like what the mayor's saying now when he said that, when you talk about Black Panther parties or you
Hmm.
got some guys in Newark running around pretending to be the Black Panthers when they're not the Black Panthers and they don't stand for those political ideals.
Hmm.
Right. But
They're
back
more
then,
like the spook that sat by the door.
yeah. But when
Hmm.
you talk about back then, the movies that we had available to us was those pimp movies. Remember Superfly, right?
Yeah,
Those-
coffee
and
and
coffee
yeah.
that caused all of those men to want to be Superfly. Remember, they
Hmm.
were dressing like that. They bought Cadillacs. They had white walls, right?
Hmm.
Some of them even went out and had holes, right? They thought they were the
Yeah.
man. You know
What
what I
was
mean?
yeah,
I'm telling you the truth, Donna. I mean,
Donald Goines and all of those
yeah,
the whole series, but
yeah.
I'm trying to think of the movie that we just watched that was about something slim about a pimp from, and I think he retired out to LA. His daughter and interview, and his daughter recently died. Not but all of those movies. But I do say, did you get a do you I hope we get the young man, Kenneth, he's the founder of the International Film Fest that they've been doing in Newark, and I know
Yeah,
Lorenz Tate has come.
I know you're talking.
Yeah, to get him to come on, and a lot of the films. I know Tyler Perry. I know the movie. A lot of the movies that he did. Why Did I Get
His name is
Married? And then
Kenneth
he
Griffin.
ended up making a series out of. Why Did I Get Married? A series is a young lady. I grew up with her older sister. Her name is Kiki Haynes, And she's been working with Tyler Perry for a long time, and she's from East Orange, and she was honored at the Newark International Film Festival. He's done a lot of good. Kenneth Gifford, he's done a lot of good work with that, and I know Lorenz Tate has been a constant supporter of that. He's like coming back every year. And Lorenz Tate, I think he has an actual production company. I know him and his brothers, they act and they do films and things. And he participated in Power, and he played an elected official. I don't know if you got that far where Lorenz played he was so good that I didn't like his character.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he's not still on there, is he?
No, I don't think. Well, Power is done, and it's off to the extension, like I said, with the one with Mary J. But I don't like. I didn't like Power because I don't like a lot of gun. Like especially to know how serious gun violence is. So I don't like a lot of gun. I don't like a lot of gory movies and stuff like that. And
that's why I say I don't know. I mean, I hear 50 were talking about doing, a series around Paid in Full, but I'm not really sure if that's something I would really want to support because, that's a real issue in our community.
Do you remember the movie when Mekhi Phifer played in that? And
yeah.
And I mean, in the movie, and the part about it was the uncle.
Was Tupac in that movie?
No, Cameron was in that movie. Mekhi Phifer, the guy Wood, forgot his name, but he played in a lot of the Wire. He was young then.
I remember the movie now. Yep.
But if you remember, and it was the uncle who kidnapped his son, and because because I often when I'm looking at movies, I go back to see the storyline. But it was and if you can go back, and I'll send you the article from it was the uncle who kidnapped the nephew, and because it was sad, just for some money to kill a young kid, it was horrible.
Right. You're right. I remember now.
But I do say, we have, one of 50's better, I don't know if you see, he was, I don't know what 50 was. He's a very charismatic, he's a great interview. And if you've seen the show that came on, it was on like NBC or ABC. And it was based on the attorney Isaac, who works here in Newark. Okay. The young man who went to prison. And now he works for the law firm in Newark, and he gave back the time when he got his law degree behind the wall.
Okay.
And they did the show on that was 50, and he wrote he bought the rights to the movie, and then he put it on TV and had it into a series. It was really good. He did a good job with that.
What's the name of that?
I can't think of it now, but I'll send it to you. But I probably watched it like 2 or 3 times. And of course, he was in it. 50 always shows up in his movie. Okay. You write himself a check. I ain't mad at him.
Well, send that to me so I can look at it. So we got one more thing to talk about before we run out of time. And
it's 9:04. You out of time, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm thinking jump on here and yell at you, his partner. What? Go ahead.
It ain't nobody with you and me. We since you and I do it all the time.
Yeah.
But the last thing is of course, Jay-Z lost the right to be able to build a casino.
Yes, we talked about that this morning.
Right. So I mean, that's I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I didn't have enough information to be able to say whether I agree or disagree, but I do know that the folks who live in that area thought it was a bad idea to be able to do that because they were talking about the amount of traffic that would bring and prostitution and violence and so forth. So they were concerned about that, and so the board that they had put together had voted against it in terms of that. So he was not able to get his way of being able to build that. So that's my hip hop news.
And I will say this, that remember when the article came out about somebody accused Jay-Z, I was your child and all that other stuff. Yeah. So that's when his plan, so that initially stopped the plan because that lawsuit and all this stuff with Puff, he had came up and he had announced that he was trying to bring a casino to Times Square, and then boom, all this other stuff came out. His lawsuit, then the Puff lawsuit, and then it stopped. So now you see, then he was able to successfully get himself removed from there, and it came back up. But I do think that there is no good story of a casino being in anybody's neighborhood. It just is not a good story. And I think I've always thought that who was ever at the table when they were doing Atlantic City, they didn't write it and forecast it long enough to say that you should not be able to build a casino within, I don't know, square miles, because one of the things that's hurt Atlantic City was the business itself, but also it's saturated because you can drive any direction and almost go to a casino now. And it should
Yeah.
be like a destination. You don't need to have a casino on every 20 miles or something like that. It's nobody's going to keep paying people $1 million every day. So it's set up, to take money. And while it should be more enjoyable, a lot of people have lost their livelihood because of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't been to Atlantic City in so long. I have no idea. I used to go down there when I was involved in boxing, so I'm not sure what it's like now. But I could
Mhm.
tell you, it used to be back then. It was very glamorous. It was nice when it first started. So I'm not, I used to go down, see a lot of Mike Tyson fights down there and all of that, and Spinks and
Mhm.
so forth. So not sure what it is now, but that would be great. But Donna, let's wrap the show up.
That's right.
So,
And I will say you got to come back next week and we got to talk about the fight that happened. I don't know if you saw
oh,
it. We'll
for
talk about
real.
that next week.
We definitely need to come back and talk about that.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
So let's just thank everyone. Obviously, we want to thank the mayor for
Yes.
coming on at 6 o'clock and doing the mayor's forum, and
Mm-hmm.
thank him for all the wisdom that and information he was dropping tonight. And then, of course, we want to thank Larry, for coming through and always giving a master class
Yes.
whenever he comes
Him
on.
and the mayor giving master classes.
Yeah. Hey, listen. I mean, you know, the hope is that anybody who come here, we hope that they can just let their wig down and take off the titles and just
Mm-hmm.
give us the information as raw as they can give it to us, so
Right.
that people, not only do they need to have unfiltered information, they need to
Mm-hmm.
have correct information, right?
Right.
Because it's about being able to save people's lives. And people in politics, they like to front. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate both Larry and the mayor coming and doing that. Then we appreciate Brother Dumas coming through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And talking about the pains and so forth, and remembering him. And we appreciate that. So we're not sure what happened with Rhino tonight, but we also thank John Austin for taking part of his debate schedule and being with us in the beginning of the show.
And
So
it's not, and we know that Zaid is out with doing his work with the Malcolm X Commemorative Committee. So we miss you, but I also want to remind this time next week is the Congressional Black Caucus's annual legislative conference. And you heard that Mayor Baraka will be speaking next Thursday at 3 p.m. And we'll reach out to his staff to see if they will be broadcasting, if we can just air it on our channel, because they're going to be having a town hall. The mayors will have a town hall to talk about um, the military convening on these black cities. So the annual legislative conference happens every September. It's next week, and Mayor Baraka will be down there giving his knowledge to the broader U.S. So if we can't listen live, I'm sure you'll be able to listen at a different time. And if you can get to D.C., it's at 3 o'clock at the convention center. And thank you, and everybody have a good week, and we'll see you next week. As I say, we'll see you in the whirlwind.
That's you in the whirlwind. But Donna, we need to find out who we can talk to down there, and and see if it's possible for us to simulcast it with them. If they broadcasting live, then for us to be able to plug in, and we'll show it on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page.
Okay, well,
So,
let's see if we can reach. I know Fatima will be doing that, and that's Fatima from Al Sharpton's
yeah,
team. So let's see who we can reach out to.
yeah. See if there's somebody we can reach out to, because if they're doing it on the video, then we'll see if we can broadcast that live.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, and we can
So check
reach
with
out to
somebody and
Congressman.
see what you can find out. And also, um, we got to make sure that we get the all of the mayors, particularly in Hillside and the mayor in Jersey City. So we'll talk
Okay.
about something like that together. But
Okay.
we want to end the live so that folks are hearing what our next shows might be. All
9 That's right. Everybody have a good evening.
right. So we'll catch y'all next week, and we thank y'all for tuning in. My brother Zaid said we'll catch y'all in the whirlwind. This has been All Politics Are Local, America's number one political
Number
hip
one.
hop radio talk show. I'm Ed Riley, and that's Donna Williams.
And
All
you're
right.
in the after hours with Ed and Donna.
That's right.
All right. Night, night.